All right, everybody, we're ready.
Oh.
Your Ben Joravsky show for Tuesday, June 11th is just moments away. But before we get into that, we would like to thank the following unions, like we always do at this time, for jumping on board and bringing back the Ben Joravsky show. First up, it's the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, Local 126 and District 8, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 9, and the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150. Big thank you to those unions for jumping on board and helping bring back the Ben Joravsky show. You guys are awesome. And, of course, today's program is brought to you by our good friends at the Chicago Federation of Labor. The Ben Joravsky show starts now. It is Tuesday, June 11th, and live from the Chicago Sun-Times Chicago Reader Studio on Racine Avenue, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. Today on the program, our Chicago Reader colleague Maya Dukmasova will join us. It's the return of Adolfo Mondragon, election lawyer, and the wild man is back. I repeat, the wild man is back. It's our good friend Mark Sims. And now your host, also a wild man. Watch out. Chicago Reader columnist Ben Joravsky.
Yeah, hello, everybody. Ben Joravsky here. We're calling this Beware of Kenny D Tuesday. And here's why. Great weekend. You have a good weekend, D?
Yeah, 2 days ago. It was amazing.
I saw Rocket.
Weekend's over.
Yeah, Rocket Man. Good flick. Leah, I recommend it for you. I know you're an Elton John fan. Good flick. Rocket Man. All about Elton John. Saw the Blues Festival. Michael Welch, big blues guitarist. Great guitar playing by Michael Welch. And let's see. Woke up to read in my beloved Bright One. That newspaper. That Mayor Lightfoot got herself into sort of a verbal tussle, if you will, D, with the Fraternal Order of Police. It all had to do with remarks she made a couple of weeks ago on the Kenny Davis Show. Huh? How about that? All right, explanation. Kenny Davis Show is not really the name of the show. The show is the Chicago Newsroom. I call it the Ken Davis Show because it's hosted by my man, Ken Davis, an old friend of mine who's on the show, on our show all the time. Years ago, I suggested to Kenneth, I said, Kenneth, I think you should change the name of your show from Chicago Newsroom to the Ken Davis Show since you host it. You know what he said to me, D?
What's that?
Mind your own business.
Yeah. Don't blame him.
No, I didn't literally said that. He kind of said it, though, and more, he lived it. I go, oh, that's a good idea, Ben. That's my Ken Davis.
That was a good one. That's a good impression.
Oh, that's a good idea, Ben.
Best impression yet.
Wait, there's more impressions to come in this bit. All right. And then he completely ignored my suggestion, which is what most people do in the city of Chicago when I make suggestions. Anyway, Kenny D is stepping down from his show after about 50 years in the business of radio and broadcasting. And Lori Lightfoot, Mayor Lightfoot, was his last guest on his last show. I want to give you some inside scoop here, D.
Okay.
I was supposed to be the last guest on the last show. Kenneth called me up. Ben, it's my last show. This is my Donald Trump imitation of Kenny D.
You're killing it today, bud.
It's my last show, and there's only one person I want. You. No one else. I want you. All right, Kenny, I'll be there. I'll be on the show. A day later, Ben, remember when I told you you're the only guy I want? Yeah? Well, Lori Lightfoot just called to say she's coming on the show, so beat it. It's a tough business. I'll tell you what, that Kenny D, he's got that nice exterior, but he's tough as nails inside. Anyway, I don't blame him. I think Lori Lightfoot was an excellent choice to be a last guest. But here's the thing. In the course of, about 30-minute, 45-minute interview or whatever, Lori Lightfoot dropped her guard and said something she shouldn't have said. And I will quote. Hold on. Where's the quote? Oh, here's my quote. Hold on. Turn the page. There we go. This is a quote Lori Lightfoot actually said on the Ken Davis Show. Quote, there were rumors floating around, and I didn't verify this, but rumors floating around that the Fraternal Order of Police were telling their officers, don't do anything over Memorial Day weekend. Don't intercede. If you see some criminal activity, just lay back. Do nothing. I hope to God that wasn't true, because man, oh man, if that happened, there's going to be a reckoning. I have several thoughts on this front. Number one, I think she got a little carried away with herself when she made that proclamation, and that'll happen with Kenneth D. Kenneth D is much like Howard Stern in this regard, D. He softens you up and then gets you feeling so comfortable that you say things you shouldn't say. I am not going to do my Howard Stern imitation. I thought about it, but I'm going to restrain myself. Robin. Sorry, couldn't restrain myself.
Your Ken Davis is way better.
Let's hear your Howard Stern imitation.
No, it's easy. Oh, Robin.
So he does a great Howard Stern. Anyway, what does he always ask, Robin?
I'm not going
All
there.
right,
Come
anyway.
on, clean it up.
Howard Stern has that way of just sort of getting a guest to feel comfortable or what have you, and lowers their guard, and they say something they shouldn't say, and I think young Kenneth did the same thing with Lori Lightfoot. Anyway, another thought I had is that compared to the untruths that Donald Trump utters every day, it was, it was bad. But it wasn't as bad what she said about Donald Trump. But here's the thing. The Fraternal Order Police was outraged by it because there was no truth to it whatsoever. It was just a rumor. And they said, Kevin Graham put it, who's the head of the Fraternal Order Police, why would a mayor give voice to such claims without attempting to verify them? Is this a sign of what is to come from her administration? Let's set the record straight. False. Those rumors are wholly false and offensive. And I kind of have to agree with the Fraternal Order of Police on this one, young D. I believe that if you should not go around repeating rumors. It's sort of like that song, that song by R.E.O. Speedwagon. I heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend who heard it from another. You've been messing. I mean, that's like 3 times removed. You get what I'm saying? Heard it from a friend, heard it from a friend who heard it from another. So you just shouldn't go repeating rumors that you heard if you haven't verified them, particularly if you're the mayor of the city of Chicago, right, D? I think the Fraternal Order Police, I don't see eye to eye with them on everything, but I have to agree with them on this basic point. And so I wish that Lori Lightfoot had just simply said, you know what? I misspoke. I got carried away by Kenny D. I apologize, but no. What did she do, D? She attacked the media. When they asked her about it at a press conference at City Hall yesterday, she said she was disappointed in the BGA and the reporting. The BGA was the one who broke the story. She criticized the Sun-Times handling of the BGA story and an online headline, which did not initially include a reaction to the rumor. When asked why she would repeat an unsubstantiated rumor, Lightfoot said, quote, "It must be a slow news day." I'm making fun of the media. What I said was, I heard a rumor, and I hope that's not true. That piece of it hasn't been picked up by the news media. This is another example, unfortunately, of context matters. I don't know, Lori Lightfoot. Listen, it's probably not as bad as half the stuff that Donald Trump says every day. But you know what? Here's my advice to you. When you say something that you know you shouldn't have said, it's better just to say, you know what? I shouldn't have said it. I'm sorry. I got carried away, and I won't do it again. But you know something, D? That's my advice to Lori Lightfoot. I got a feeling that Lori Lightfoot will treat my advice the way Kenneth D does. She'll ignore it. We got a great show today, everybody. Maya Dukmasova will be here in this studio from the Chicago Reader. We'll be talking about this, that, and the other thing in Chicago politics. Cannot wait. She's all fired up, particularly on the issue of gambling. So we'll be talking about that. And, of course, at 2 o'clock, Adolfo Mondragon, El Dragon, our election law lawyer. He will be in the studio with our sleazy Ed Burke update, a regular feature on the Ben Joravsky Show. He has taken apart the lawsuit, the federal law indictment against Ed Burke, and ready to pick it apart and explain what's going on. I also may ask him about federal trade policy in Mexico and Trump and tariffs.
Do it. Ask him about that. Yeah.
He's got opinions and everything. And then at 2:30, yes, Mark Sims will be here. Oh, my goodness. Mark Sims, he already told me what he's going to talk about, folks. I can't even say it. It's so outrageous. So,
what is it?
I'm not going to say it. I'll let Mark Sims say it, all right? But he's coming here at 2:30. He's all fired up, ready to talk.
Do it in your Ken Davis impression, what Mark Sims is going to talk about. That's such a good Ken Davis. Not one word said, but damn, that sounded just like him.
By the way, I did an interview with young Kenneth. It aired a couple of weeks ago. Don't listen to it now, as Dennis always says, but after today's show, you might want to check it out. It's one of our bonus features, and it was a pretty good interview.
Chicago Newsroom in Review.
That's what a memory. Wow.
Wasn't that long ago.
It was like 3 weeks ago. Anyway, a lot of great features on the bonus segment. That's really become a popular feature on our podcast. What was it? Every Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, we post interviews, one-on-one interviews, or sometimes it's 1-on-2 or whatever. Just myself and the guest, and we just talk about the issues of the day. It's pretty good stuff. So anyway,
sometimes our guests will tell poems or
sing songs.
every
And sometimes
now and again.
we wear the same shirt, as happened this weekend with Alden Lowry, which I, by the way, love that interview. Alden Lowry, WBEZ, really had some insightful things to say about racial attitudes in the city of Chicago and demographic changes in the city of Chicago. Anyway, I went on a tangent within a tangent. If you want to hear Ken Davis and see how good my imitation of him really is, check out that bonus feature. All right, enough said on that. What you got for me, young man?
Well, everybody, first off, before we get going here, Ben, I know you're a little embarrassed to announce this, but I'll help you out, buddy. He's looking to get an REO Speedwagon cover band going. Did you hear that excellent singing he just did there, Ben? Let him hear it again.
Heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend.
All right, so the vocals he's got on lock, all right? So if you can play guitar, drums.
Wait, hold on. Leah, let me ask you this. Have you ever heard of REO Speedwagon?
Yeah.
Wow. How do you know about REO Speedwagon?
I don't know, the radio.
I gotta give her credit, man. I listen, just today I heard about Billie Eilish for the first time. You ever heard about Billie Eilish, D?
Nope.
Leah, you ever heard about Billie Eilish?
Yeah, she's good.
She's good. She's 17-year-old superstar, sold out United Center. Until I saw the story in the Tribune, I didn't know. So I texted Joanna Klonsky, first person. I figured, let me see if a millennial knows. She goes, I go, do you never heard of Billie Eilish? Right back, of course. That made me feel dumb. Anyway.
Well, he's trying to get that cover band going, all right? He's got the vocals down, so if you can play drums or bass or guitar, he'd love to hear from you.
REO Speedwagon or Billie Eilish? Which one?
You're REO Speedwagon.
Okay.
Quit acting like you don't want to do that. You were telling me all about it over the weekend. BennyJShow@gmail.com. Hit him up. All right, it's the middle of Tuesday, June 11th. Let's talk about the national news happening this afternoon. First up, Donald Trump impeachment watch. In case you were wondering, yes, House Democrats are still in favor of impeaching President Trump.
Hear, hear.
Also, yes, they are still trying to get their hands on the full unredacted Mueller report. And finally, yes, Donald Trump is tweeting like a weirdo in retaliation to all of it. On Monday, Democratic House Judiciary Committee Chairman, one Jerry Nadler, announced a deal with the Justice Department under which Democrats will be given access to a subset of documents pertaining to the underlying evidence Mueller used to draw up his report. And listen, all right, I could sit here and read the president's rambly tweets, but I'll just save us all some time here.
No collusion.
Boom. Boom. That's all the tweet said. In a roundabout way.
No collusion.
Bam. Now, so far, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Ben, hold your excitement, has been saying no to impeachment. She said she'd rather see him in jail last week and today at a D.C. fiscal summit, along with saying that she is, quote, done with the president. Pelosi said a Donald Trump impeachment is not off the table. Ooh. Here's the quote from Pelosi on impeaching the president. Bit of a word salad, if you ask me. Here we go. Quote, it's not off the table. I don't think you should impeach for political reasons, and I don't think you should not impeach for political reasons.
Oh, those double negatives, huh? Hold on. She's going into Robert Mueller country.
Nancy, I went to community college. Help me. Quit talking like that. You lost me. Then she went on to say here, it's not about politics. It's not about Democrats and Republicans. It's not about partisanship. It's about patriotism to our country. It's upholding the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah, right. By the way, D, don't you ever dare to say anything bad about Nancy Pelosi.
So, I know. I made that mistake once
All
before.
Right.
Good Lord.
I had Samin on the show Friday, and we never got around to Nancy Pelosi because she will be critical of Nancy. She's the one person that comes on the show I'm always asking people, what do you think of Nancy Pelosi? And people seem to like her.
Well, not as much as you.
But listen, this whole impeachment thing, it's got me really fascinated. By the way, D, I have to tell you this. I didn't tell you this. We talked before the show. Among the things I did this weekend, among the books I purchased, I went kind of on a binge. I went to Barnes & Noble and bought a bunch of books. I bought the Mueller report. It's the Washington Post version. It's like 500 pages. I was up real late, typical me, reading the Mueller report.
And I heard you got a Nancy Pelosi bookmark.
No, it's a lunchbox. You heard it wrong. I got it. Okay, with a thermos. But anyway, so I can't wait. Tomorrow we'll have Monroe in the studio, and I'll bring my big copy of the report, and we'll go through it. My favorite sections of it circled and everything like that. They got everything in this. The thing is huge. It's got articles about Mueller, articles about Trump, and it's got the actual report. It's got all the names. Anyway, sorry.
Could have used that a few weeks ago, but better late than never.
Well, it's not going anywhere. I mean, obviously, this impeachment stuff is sticking around. The Democrats can't figure out, they're kind of nervous. Do we impeach them? If we impeach them, are we going to lose swing voters in Maryland? That's what they're always worried about. Will we lose Wisconsin? Will we gain Michigan? I mean, they act like it's not political, but of course it's very political. Everything's political. There are important constitutional issues embedded here. Donald Trump is thumbing his nose at a congressional subpoena. That's a very serious violation of the separation of powers. But it's a political decision. Laura Washington just wrote a column in the Sun-Times the other day. Laura Washington, the famous columnist for the Chicago Sun-Times, she goes, I am concerned, I'm worried, or I'm scared to death of impeachment. And she's speaking like many Democrats of the centrist persuasion. They're very concerned that somehow or other they will alienate voters if they dare to impeach the president, regardless of how much of the law he breaks. So it's a tough decision. Nancy Pelosi's trying to figure it out.
Shout out to the YouTube live stream right now. Pat Rod, what's going on? Left wing Limbaugh, what's happening?
Oh, I love left wing Limbaugh.
Wonder what his real name is.
Rush.
Oh, yeah, that's his real name, yeah. All right, Pelosi then went on to say about Trump, quote, I'm done with him. I don't even want to talk about him. My stock goes up every time he attacks me. So what can I say? But let's not spend too much time on that because that's his victory, the diverter in chief, the diverter of attention in chief.
She said that?
She said that.
I got to give her credit, the diverter in chief. First of all, I do believe she protests too much. I think she loves talking about Donald Trump. It's perfect for her.
Well, I mean, she said it. Yeah, anytime my stock goes up every time he attacks.
Absolutely. I was not praising Nancy Pelosi until she became the target of Donald Trump's wrath, and I liked how she stood up to him. So you keep fighting, Nancy Pelosi.
In other news, boy, I tell you, when it comes to these presidential politics, there's no place quite like the battleground state of Iowa.
Oh, yeah, they're all moving to Iowa. There's like 20 of them over this weekend, right?
Yeah, besides that and that football team. That's about all Iowa has. But first off...
what football team?
The Hawkeyes.
Oh, the University of Iowa Hawkeye. Oh, yeah. I like that football team.
First off, over the weekend, we had 19 Democratic presidential candidates gather together for the first time in one venue to make their 5-minute pitch to the party faithful. All 19 got out unscathed, by the way. No one got in a brawl or anything. And today, not only will 2020 Democratic POTUS hopeful Grandpa Joe, Ben's favorite Joe Biden, be holding a rally in Iowa, the president himself, Donald Trump, will be throwing one of his stupid rallies as well. Before heading to Western Iowa to deliver remarks on renewable energy, Trump gave a press conference. Here's the president. Guys, seriously, who keeps vacuuming while this guy is talking?
Mexico, we're getting along with them great.
Oh, my God.
Marcelo and the president and all of it, we're getting along great. They've started a very strong action. They're moving right now 6,000 soldiers to their southern border. Who ever heard of that?
Yeah,
you think we had that 2 weeks ago?
Nope.
2 weeks ago, I'll tell you what we had.
Okay.
We had nothing. Now, look, Nancy is a mess. The Democratic Party is a mess. They're doing everything they can to win the election in 2020. They are guilty of many crimes, many crimes, what they've done. They're guilty of many crimes. And hopefully, in a short period of time, that'll be seen. They should never have done what they've done. And all they do is waste time on these investigations where there's no obstruction, no collusion, no nothing. And in the meantime, they can't get a border deal done. They can't do anything. Joe Biden is a dummy. Joe Biden thought China was not a competitor. China made $500 billion over a short period of time against Obama, Biden, and for many years, in all fairness to them. China is a major competitor, and right now China wants to make a deal very badly. It's me right now that's holding up the deal.
Oh, my God. I got to tell you something. Listen to Donald Trump. You know, the reality is this. There was a story in today's New York Times about Elizabeth Warren and all the policies she's come up with and all the position papers she has and these very detailed, thoughtful policies that she is proposing. Let's face it, 99% of the public is not going to read those policy papers, is not going to think about them. If you present these issues to them, their eyes will glaze over. I know this, D, because I've been at this business for a long time, writing about the complexities of municipal financing, and everybody's like, I am bored. Let's talk about what Lori Lightfoot said on the Kenny Davis show, all right? And so Donald Trump gets it. He understands it. He just has to get up in front of you're right, the microphones with the airplanes making all the noise in the background so he can't take questions. It's a captive audience. And just, what did he say? That Joe Biden is a dummy. I mean, that's our president. You know, you don't have to have a policy position. Just Joe Biden is a dummy. And then the Democrats are fretting. What do we do? How do we deal with this? Do we call him a dummy? Because then we'll look bad. Because the Democrats are playing by the old book, D. And Donald Trump took that book and ripped it up and threw it away. Democrats are like, I'm going to issue a policy paper, which no one will read except for Ben Joravsky. Anyway, Donald Trump gets the game, baby.
Speaking of, Kyle weighed in on the YouTube live chat here. If you just tuned in, Ben announced that he bought the Mueller report at the bookstore.
Yes.
Kyle says, Ben, you realize you can read the report online for free instead of buying the book. Yes, I'm a millennial. Yes, I read print books.
First of all, Kyle, let me just say this about that. I like reading a book, all right? Oh, these millennials always trying to, like, I give a guy $10. You can Venmo that to me.
You can.
Yes, you can. I like reading books. And secondly, it's filled with, it's not just reading the Mueller report. It's got, like in chronological order. It's got all the names and definitions. It's got articles about everybody. I mean, it's like a great resource. And I just, I guess I'm kind of a sucker. I saw it on the shelf. I go, oh my God, what a great deal. It's so thick. It's like a phone book back in the day. And it's sitting in my living room. I'm going to bring it here tomorrow. Who wrote that?
Kyle.
Kyle, I'm going to bring it here tomorrow, and I'm just going to start randomly reading from it, all right? Take your notebook out and your pen. Wait, you're a millennial. You don't have that. You're going to take your phone out and write on your phone.
And Venmo Ben $20, would you? My God. He's trying to get that Ario cover band going. Help him out.
Hey, Kyle, man, I want you to play drums in the Ario.
Yeah,
band.
you any good at drums, Kyle?
Yeah.
Now, of course, he will keep you Oh, wait, there's more. Hold on. Sorry. Yeah, so Trump said all that stuff. Trump will go to Des Moines for a dinner and fundraiser with the state's Republican Party.
You ever been to Des Moines?
Nope.
Oh,
never.
I flipped the switch with you. I've been to Des Moines.
Oh, wow. Let's hear about it.
Well, I spent the night in Des Moines.
Oh, okay. Hotel.
No, I slept on the basement.
Okay,
rec
we're
room.
moving on. I don't know what the hell you're doing around there now. According to CBS News, during his speech, former Vice President Biden plans to call Trump, quote, an existential threat to the United States, highlighting that theme that he's had since he's announced his candidacy. I'm the only guy who can beat Donald Trump.
No, I'll tell you this. Now let's think about it. This is right there in a nutshell. Right there, Donald Trump, quote: Joe Biden is a dummy. Joe Biden fights back. Donald Trump is an existential threat. I don't know, D. Which one do you think will just grab voters more? Joe Biden is a dummy, or Donald Trump is an existential threat?
I don't know. Joe Biden doesn't seem that smart.
Yeah, is an existential threat. Listen, Dems, you're fighting a new fight. Now, hey, you know what? But what do I know? I did see there was an article in the New York Times the other day talk about the Trump people. Their internal polls show that Donald Trump is getting thrashed by Joe Biden in 17 key states. I saw that. Man, no wonder he keeps trashing Joe Biden. People like Joe Biden.
Including you.
Well, nobody who comes on my show likes him. You watch today. There are going to be 3 people come on the show. I'm going to ask each one of them what they think of Joe
that
Biden.
dirty bastard.
Maybe Mark Sims will say something. I'm going to write this down. Hey, Mark, what do you think about Joe Biden? Let's call Ken Davis and see what he thinks about him.
Not one word said, but still a fantastic impression. Oh, man, this live stream chat is on fire here. Left Wing Limbaugh says, what's a phone book?
Man, can we send him something? Here you go. I'm going to send you this card.
Oh, by the way, he said his name's Matt. Now, of course, we will keep you posted on these stories as today's program rolls along.
No collusion.
But we're moving on, all right? Coming up,
Moving
please stop singing. Okay. Coming up after this short little break, people, we're going to find out what's going on locally. We're going to find out what else is new, so don't go anywhere. It's the Ben Joravsky Show.
Read the Chicago Reader to get up to speed on what's what in Chicago. Culture, food, arts and entertainment, weekly concert listings, weekly event listings, the environment, travel. I can continue, but you get the point. And for all of you Chicago political junkies, raw weekly columns on real city politics from Maya Dukmasova and our very own Ben Joravsky. The Chicago Reader, free to the public in newsstands throughout the city and online at chicagoreader.com. Read it now and be a more informed Chicagoan.
Did you know that 40% of the people in Illinois opt to be cremated? Well, it's true. And Chicagoland Cremation Options honors their wishes by providing cremation services directly to the general public. Chicagoland Cremation Options provides an affordable, ethical, and easy cremation arrangement, whether in person or online. Save thousands and streamline the process by going directly to Chicagoland Cremation Options. It's a family-owned business operated by my good friend, Douglas Klein. Here's how you reach them. ChicagolandCremationOptions.com. One more time. ChicagolandCremationOptions.com.
It's Chicagoland's adult entertainment playground. It's the world-famous Admiral Theater, 3940 West Lawrence Avenue. The Admiral is homegrown from Chicago, and it's the most conveniently located club in all of the city. 15 minutes from the O'Hare Airport in downtown Chicago Loop. Voted Chicago's best strip club, the Admiral has showgirls galore and a variety of adult entertainment shows. The world-famous Admiral Theater, open every day from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m., 3940 West Lawrence Avenue. For events, showtime, and other information, visit AdmiralX.com. Must be 18 years of age or older to enter.
Welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show, live from the Chicago Sun-Times.
Yes, indeed, we're live, and it's time for the local news. What you got, young man?
Well, we're about to find out what's going on locally. It's time for What Else is News, and so far, well, got to be honest with you, everybody. Kind of a slow news day. Nothing much going on out there.
What's that?
It's like crickets.
Oh, okay. It's very slow, man.
Yeah, that's a slow news day. That's the noise when they have slow news day.
Okay.
I mean, we have your typical Chicago stories, like the city of Chicago was accused today of towing and impounding thousands of vehicles without sending motorists. The state required notice by mail that their cars, trucks, and SUVs may be sold for scrap.
Oh, my God. I missed that one. That just came out?
Yeah, that stuff happens all the time here in Chicago. That's
What a
just,
city.
I mean, that's just another
Shakedown
day.
city.
But just as we are about to start our live stream this afternoon, a follow-up story broke. Ben, what's the breaking news noise around here?
I don't know. What is it?
That's all it is.
Is that what it is?
That's what it is.
I forgot what it was.
You always do.
Hold on.
There you go.
Breaking news.
There we go. The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times, and one John Seidel, a federal judge in Chicago today, threw out a lawsuit attempting to block construction of the Obama Presidential Center in Jackson Park. Now, the advocacy group Protect Our Parks has called the city's deal with the Obama Foundation a shell game, an illegal land grab, and the poster child for a public trust violation, one that benefits the foundation without regard to the public. But today, U.S. District Judge one John Blakey said there, quote, should be no delay in construction and said, quote, this is not a difficult case. Blakey heard key arguments in the case this morning. Earlier this year, he promised to swiftly resolve the legal challenge that has loomed over the former president's proposal for historic Jackson Park. After the ruling, Protect Our Parks attorney Mark Roth said he was, quote, disappointed and called the case a close call, promising to appeal. The city has insisted the Obama Presidential Center would bring with it a massive bundle of unique public benefits.
All right.
So Ben Joravsky here. We haven't talked much about the Obama Center since our new show here at the Sun-Times. So
correct.
tell us your overall thoughts. Are you excited to see the Obama Center? And what do you think about its Jackson Park location?
Okay. First question first, yes. Second question, no. I do not think the Jackson Park is where you should put the Obama Center. There's plenty of vacant land throughout the city on the south side. I wanted to go on the west side, as I like to say. Again, just like Ken Davis, they didn't listen to me, and they didn't take my advice, and they went with the south side. I don't understand why, of all the places you have to put it in the middle of a park, there's very limited park space in the city of Chicago. There's a lot of vacant land. So I don't think it's a good idea to put it in a park. I agree with the plaintiffs in this case. That said, I think I'm definitely in the minority in the city of Chicago, and I think most residents on the south side don't care about the park location. The issue there has to do with a community agreement, a benefits agreement that would somehow or other help people who already live in the area, and that's far more paramount to most people on the south side. So, I'm going to let this lawsuit. Meanwhile, it's going to drag it on because the group is going to appeal. I think Judge Robert Blakely, I think his name is, who made the ruling today. That ruling will be appealed by the plaintiffs. So that'll just delay things a little more for the Obama Center. But, it's a typical deal in the city of Chicago. The powers that be, they want to put it in a park. I remember this with the Lucas Center, D, and I just don't know why. We have a limited park. They wanted to do it on the Olympics. We're going to build all these venues in for the Olympics. Thank goodness we didn't get the Olympics in our park space, and we have all this vacant land. I do not understand the mentality of Chicagoans, D. I've been here since 1981. Why would you build in a park when you have available land all around the park? But whatever. That's my opinion on that one.
And Jackson Park. So if you could pick any location
Beautiful
for
park.
the Obama Center, if you could pick any location in the city of Chicago, where would you put the Obama
I would
Center?
put it on the west side. There's vacant land on the west where I wanted it to go, and there was a deal that West Side activists had put together with the University of Illinois at Chicago. Huge tract of vacant land that had been the site of illegal dumps. I thought it would be only fitting that the city of Chicago would tag team with the first president from Chicago. He's not technically from Chicago, he's from Hawaii, but whatever. To really have some economic development and clean up a blemish, a huge blemish on the city's reputation. This is the site where for years illegal dumping was going on while the feds looked one way and the city looked the other way. But no, they decided to put it in a park. So I would put it where it could have the most benefit for the community that's down and out, and I would have a community benefits agreement that would protect the people who live in the area. I would use it for an economic development tool. But, D, they didn't elect me mayor of the city of Chicago. Did you know that?
Thank God.
Anyway, that's my opinion about the Obama Center.
Well, what say you, live stream listeners? If you could pick any place in the city of Chicago to put the Obama Center, where would you put it? Head over to the live stream. I'm talking to you, Left Wing Limbaugh, a.k.a. Matt. We found out your name. Don't worry, we won't say it much.
I like
Kyle,
Left Wing Limbo.
Pat, Rod, where are you guys at? Let us know. If you could pick any place in the city to put the Obama Center, where would you put it? All right, we have another story to talk about here in the Chicago Sun-Times. And one of these stories here where, Ben, I'm glad that you're around because it gets a little wordy. And, you're real hip on the Chicago politics here. So the following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times and one, Fran, the woe man, Spielman. The headline reads, 2 weeks after winning test of legislative muscle, Lightfoot's relationship with city council could be headed for early turbulence. Of course, this is about our Chicago mayor, Lori Lightfoot. I'll just go on and read the article here. And then once I read a few paragraphs, I'll go, Ben, what the hell are they talking about?
Okay.
Here we go. 2 weeks after winning the first test of her legislative muscle by a voice vote on her committee chairman, there were signs Monday that Mayor Lori Lightfoot's relationship with the city council may be headed for some early turbulence. Lightfoot's plan to cut the budgets of 4 of the council's 18 committees ran into trouble from an unexpected source. One of the mayor's handpicked committee chairmen accused the new administration of reneging on an agreement to give her more money. The surprise holdout was Alderman and dear friend of the Ben Joravsky Show, Alderwoman, I should say, Sue Sadlowski Garza of the 10th Ward. Lightfoot's choice to chair a committee on workforce development that will consider a predictable scheduling ordinance and an accelerated plan to raise Chicago's minimum wage to $15 an hour. I'll pause there. Ben, what the hell are they talking about?
Okay, Sue Sadlowski Garza, alderwoman of the 10th Ward on the southeast side of Chicago, is now the head of a committee, which is unheard of. I think unimaginable about 6 months ago. Sue Sadlowski Garza was elected in 2015, defeating John Pope, and a close ally of Mayor Rahm. And Mayor Rahm never liked Sue Garza. He always had this attitude about her, hostility that emanated from him, as though how dare she run against his trusted advisor. I never understood that, because I think Sue Sadlowski Garza, just on a personal level, is one of the most likable elected officials I've ever met, and I love talking to her, talking politics with her. And she's the daughter of a legend, of a union legend from the southeast side. So you would think that Mayor Rahm would have welcomed her election to the city council and would use Sue Sadlowski Garza to build a bridge to the progressive community. She's a member of the Chicago Teachers Union. But again, talk about people, a long line of people. Don't listen to me. Don't take my advice. Rahm would be the first one on that list. And,
take a chill pill, man.
Yeah, sorry, Rahm. Anyway, so he battled her, or he was hostile to her, I should say, for the first 2 or 3 years of his her term as alderman. And now Lori Lightfoot had made an alliance with her and agreed to let Sue Sadlowski Garza be the chairperson of a committee in the city council. And that committee got cut, its budget was cut in half. And I know this because when I was with Maya at the inauguration, we bumped into Sue Sadlowski Garza, and she told us her budget had been cut in half by the mayor. It was an attempt to be a little more efficient in how much of allowance each committee gets, because they were additionally, follow me on this, folks, creating more committees in order to assure aldermen and alderwomen that they would be committee chairs. It's a very, prestigious position. And so one way to get the aldermen to vote with the mayor was to give them a chair. Got that? All right. Basic politics. But to create more chairs, they had to cut the funding. Well, it turns out that Sue Sadlowski Garza was expecting more money than the Lori Lightfoot had budgeted for her. And she went public with her complaint. She'd already hired people, staff. I'm just interpreting the article here. By the way, Sue Sadlowski Garza will be a guest on this show on Thursday, Young D. So we can ask her all about this. Yeah.
Ish coming?
Ish is out of the country, but I'm going to bring Ish on later. Ish is her right-hand man. Anyway, so this is, a procedural story. She stood up for her rights, and I think Lori Lightfoot is going to have the $50,000 that's in issue added to the budget. So all's well that ends well. But, Sue Sadlowski Garza went public with her complaint. That's how you do it in the city of Chicago, D. If you're just quiet about it, you're never going to get anything, all
That's
right?
the truth. You got to be the squeaky wheel.
Yes.
All right, let's do a quote here from Sue Garza here. Quote, she says, I've already made job offers. Alderman O'Connor worked with the staff of 9. I'm down to 4. The number that's here was not the amount that was given to me. This is not the number that we negotiated, said Garza. Newly appointed budget director Susie Park offered to talk offline about what that number should be, but that was not enough to satisfy Sue Garza. Here's more quotes from Garza. Garza says, quote, I already made offers to a staff who have been here for 3 weeks. Budget Committee Chairman Pat Dowell initially offered to recess the meeting until 9 a.m. Wednesday to get the problem ironed out.
Yes, indeed. And Maya's in the studio. Maya was with me the day of inauguration when we bumped into Sue Sedlowski Garza outside the DePaul basketball arena. And after hearing Lori Lightfoot's inauguration speech, Maya had insisted that I come. I didn't want to have to get up that early. She goes, get up early and get over there. And I do whatever Maya tells me. So I went and saw it. And we bumped into Sue Sedlowski Garza. And she bragged, she was feeling pretty good. She said, I'm going to do more with less. Pat O'Connor had like a $600,000 budget. I'm going to have to do with the $300,000 of my memory, Maya.
Yep.
And so then it turned out they cut like 45 or 50,000, whatever, out of it. And so she stood up for her rights. And I give her credit. Well, everybody knows I love Sue Sedlowski Garza, so I guess you can understand why. But and I don't know if you saw that story we're talking about in the paper.
Yeah.
But she did tell us right there on the sidewalk, D, that she was willing to do more with less. But apparently she wanted more than the less they were giving.
Well, it's sort of funny because she was so ecstatic. She was expressing like a lot of excitement about this committee assignment, and getting the budget cut from $300,000, that's a lot. That's like half the budget. That's a lot of money. But now it's like 50,000 less, and like I guess I would have expected her to raise more of a fuss about the other $300,000, but I guess maybe this was this 50 grand was what the straw that broke the camel's back. I don't know.
Well, like I said, the whole idea is that in order to create more committees and satisfy more aldermen with a plum of being a chair of a committee, Lori Lightfoot had to compromise and cut budgets from the committees. And so I feel the aldermen figure, all right, I'll get to be a chair. I'll get to hire, 2 or 3 people. I won't get to hire the 6 or 7 or whatever that Pat O'Connor had, but 3 is better than nothing.
Right.
So, I guess that was the general issue there. But this committee is going to hear the issue of Fair Work Week. I don't know if you've been following that at all, and that's a very important issue. We had Bob Ryder here on Thursday talking about it last week. That's a very important issue in the city of Chicago to have Fair Work Week, the protection for workers, so that they just don't get called in on the work site and then said, "Oh, we don't need you today. Go home." And,
right.
Well, what about the child care I got and all that kind of thing? So, I mean, the committee will have a function and a purpose. Maybe it doesn't need the full $600,000.
So there you are, just like that. And you're now in the know of what is going on locally. Before we move on here, we do have some people weighing in on the YouTube live chat here. We asked if you could pick anywhere in the city of Chicago to put the Obama Center, where would you put it? We have a few answers here. Let's go to, let's see. Oh, Pat Rod says, I'd put it on the top of Trump Tower. Kind of funny.
Have it block the sign.
Yeah. Alicia says, an empty lot. Leave the parks alone.
Alicia on that one.
Left-wing Limbaugh. Left-wing Limbaugh is on fire today. All right? He keeps going and going. He says the Obama Library might fit on J.B. Pritzker's lot.
On his horse ranch.
Oh, and this
remember the horse farm?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, he loves horses, guys. And finally, this has nothing to do with the question, but Steven weighed in. What's going on, Steven? He says, did you guys know that Ben Joravsky holds the world record for consecutive days wearing a Bulls hat?
This is a new one. Wait, who wrote that?
Yeah, it is a new one. I was remarking it. It looks good. Also, did you know that now the Reader has baseball caps?
No, man, I'm always the last to know.
As of yesterday, people can find our new merch all right, let's put a little plug in for the reader merch. If you go to Redbubble, which is like an online retailer, sort of like Cafe Press, if you Google Redbubble Chicago Reader, you will see all the new merch that our business team and Tracy Baim, our publisher, have corralled together. And there's baseball hats, and there's hoodies and T-shirts and mugs and throw pillows and phone cases and all kinds of reader shit, that everything your heart could desire.
I'm definitely going to get the hat. We have sort of a hat theme in this show. It started with Miles, last editor, and Dennis. I go, I'm going to start wearing hats. And the only hats, I have one Sox hat. I'm a big White Sox fan. And a whole, 20 Bulls hats.
This is a much better Bulls hat than your other Bulls hat.
Thank you.
I like it a lot.
Thank you. I just purchased it. And so Leah, who's our new editor, and she says she's going to start wearing baseball caps too as well. So it's just like a whole thing. But yeah, who noticed it? Left wing Limbaugh?
Left wing? No, Steven.
Yo, Steven. My man.
You are his man. See that? And now you'll have an answer the next time someone asks you, hey, what else is news?
All right, let me tell you something.
Okay.
All right, something that BTS, the boy band, BTS, one of your favorite bands.
I love them. What can I say?
Something that REO Speedwagon, one of your favorite bands, and something that Billie Eilish, and I know you love her very much.
Oh, still no one on the live stream weighing in to help you out in that REO cover band.
Oh, okay. They all agree you did a great job. Give yourself a raise. Take it out of petty cash. Maya's sitting here ready to go. We'll be right back with Maya.
Today's Ben Joravsky Show was brought to you in part by Chicago Architecture Center. Discover the breadth and majesty of Chicago's architecture on a Chicago Architecture Center bus tour. From bungalows to Bauhaus, our expert docents will share the fascinating stories behind our city's architecture. Book your tour at architecture.org/tours. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm actually on a bus tour right now. Oh my, look at that wonderful piece of architecture.
Cirque du Soleil's Big Top comes back to Chicago with its latest show, Volta. Venture into a captivating voyage of discovery inspired by the adventurous spirit of freedom, where a surge of action sparks a high-voltage journey. Volta. Playing May 18th through July 6th under the Big Top at Soldier Field. Tickets at CirqueDuSoleil.com. Volta thanks their partners Hennessy Black and Champagne Nicolas Fayette.
Hey, playing now at Steppenwolf Theater, the world premiere of Ms. Black for President. It's inspired by the true, that's true as in it really happened, TRUE story of Joan Jett Black, America's first drag queen presidential candidate. You know who created it, D?
No.
It was created by Tony nominee Tina Landau.
Oh.
And you know who else created it?
No.
Oscar winner Terrell Alvin McCraney. You know him, Moonlight.
Oh, yeah.
For tickets, visit steppenwolf.org. That's Steppenwolf, like the rock group from the 60s.
Hang tight, millennials. Commercial break over. Welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show, live from the Chicago Sun-Times.
Yes, indeed, we are live. Maya's with me in the studio, and Maya, I know we're going to talk about gambling coming to the city of Chicago and the impact that a casino would have on the city and what you think about that, your thoughts on gambling. But I have to ask you about the Obama Center. We just got finished talking about it. What, for instance, what is your attitude about putting the Obama Center in Jackson Park? Again, folks, people are not familiar with Chicago. Jackson Park is a beautiful park right on the lake on the south side of Chicago around 63rd Street, and it's got a great beach with a beautiful pavilion, et cetera, and so forth. And the Obamas apparently thought it was best suited to be the best site for their Obama Center, put it in a park. It's going to take up about 19 acres. What's your opinion about that?
So I feel, the most important thing is to be listening to the people who live in that neighborhood who are bringing up various concerns. So I feel kind of torn because on the one hand, I definitely hear and understand the argument that there needs to be some kind of, economic development stimulus in the South Shore area, that people, there are a lot of people who are very excited about this, not only because it's going to be an attraction, but also because it means a lot to have, the first Black president's library and archives in the neighborhood that he actually has ties to in the city of Chicago in a Black neighborhood. So I definitely understand why people want it there. I do feel like all of the concerns about gentrification and displacement and, skyrocketing housing values and housing costs, I guess, all of those are also like very valid. So I feel like since this center is going to probably be a real boon for the city and bring a lot of benefits to the city, the city should be taking care to make sure that it doesn't also, trample on the little guy, basically. So, I feel like the CBA fight is still
community benefits agreement.
Yeah, that even without this lawsuit, because like the lawsuit was kind of this weird thing because it was brought by people who were arguing that we shouldn't put this in the park.
Yeah.
Like there were people who were purporting to speak on behalf of the park. And for me in this entire discussion, like the concern about the welfare of the park is like about at the bottom of the totem pole. Like I feel like we need to be worrying about the people first. And there's lots of, I feel like I heard a news brief on BEZ earlier today about this where either Natalie Moore was mentioning this or like pointing it out, or maybe one of the people she was interviewing. But basically, I mean, there's lots of parks in the city that have some kind of cultural institution in them. We have the DuSable Museum that's in a park. We have just plenty of kind of attractions, museums, whatever, that are within Chicago parks. So I'm not
Museum, aquarium.
Right. The museum campus itself is inside a park. So and the Museum of Science and Industry as well. So I think that I'm less sympathetic to all of these sort of ideas that this is going to like destroy nature in the park. I think that we should be preoccupied with how this is going to affect the surrounding communities. And I'm actually working on a story now that is about South Shore, like as South Shore real estate and the effect that even the kind of the anticipation of this library is having on the community, and it's already hurting folks. So I feel like it's like a tightrope to walk, and I do think that we need to be listening to the people who are going to be directly impacted by this, and not the parks.
Yeah, well,
by that I don't mean the park.
No, I understand what you're saying, and it's absolutely two separate issues at play here. The advocates who've gone to court to block the city from allowing the center to be constructed in Jackson Park do not in any way even remotely pretend that they're speaking up for the economic interests of people who live on the South Side. That's not the issue for them in any way.
Right.
The issue for them is, should the city of Chicago be allowing the Obama Center to go on park space? And park space is valuable. It's right on the lake. We have a limited amount of it. Yes, there's other buildings on parks, but maybe that means we should stop building in the park. So it's a completely separate issue that you're absolutely correct.
With everything that's going on in the city, it's like...
I hear you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's hard. But I struggle with this because just because an issue, follow me what I'm about to say, is not at the top of the list of things that really matter, it's not like a life and death issue, does not mean we should, all right, let's tolerate it. I was vehemently against the Lucas Museum. I don't know if you had an opinion about that one. Which was going to go right near Soldier Field on the same grounds.
Right.
It's like, why are we building on lakefront land? Why we should be encouraging people to use the parks for what they are, open space in the city. But you're right. That was not at the top 20 pressing issues the city of Chicago is facing. But doesn't mean it's not an important issue.
Right. It's not at all to say that it's not an important issue, but if we're also if this is an argument about the city's ecology and about our green spaces and about our environment, there are also myriad issues concerning that I feel like a group with the clout of Friends of the Parks can take.
It's not Friends of the Parks.
What is the name of the group?
It's an ad hoc group that just protect our parks.
Right.
Yeah, Friends of the Parks staying away from this one.
Yeah. So I mean, a group with the clout and the resources to bring, the city of Chicago into it's in federal court. You got to hire lawyers for that and whatever. I mean, there's just. I'm sure that there are parks in the city of Chicago that need protecting. I'm sure that there's all kinds of issues with like pollution abatement, lead contamination, and landfill cleanup. All of these issues that are very much pressing concerns that have to do with the city's environment and ecology. That are, I feel like, maybe better battles to fight than like this argument about whether or not to bring the library into the park. Because I can't think of I don't see a scenario in which the park doesn't become more attractive overall with the library there. I feel like more people are going to be using the park.
Yeah, wow, you and I
don't
do
think
not
so?
see I see, I'm like old school in this. I don't think any of these buildings should be in parks. I was against the Nature Museum being in the park. I'm old, but I was not old enough to fight putting the museum. So I wasn't around to fight putting the Museum of Science and Industry. Of course, they built the park around the Museum of Science and Industry. So
you wouldn't have the park if it wasn't for that Museum of Science and Industry building. That was why the park was built.
And so my attitude about it is that at this stage, I do not believe the city of Chicago should be developing in park space, especially park space that's on Lake Michigan. That said, I agree with you that it's not the most important pressing issue, but what it does tie to is what we were going to talk about, and that is the whole issue of how does the city balance its needs to develop in communities that are low income and could use development with the consequences of that development, because all too often, if you put, like, the Obama Center is already part of sort of developmental trends on the south side of Chicago, in the Hyde Park area, just south of Hyde Park and west of Hyde Park, et cetera, that's forcing up real estate, that's forcing people out. So that's a whole different issue as to whether it's in a park or whether it's in vacant land just east or west of the park, et cetera.
Right.
And that gets into the issue of the casinos as well, because the city is considering where it's going to put casinos. So what's your sense of, what's your attitude about where the casino goes?
Yeah. So again, I feel like there's this there's equally sort of valid points being made around this issue, which is that, like, on the one hand, I hear a lot of people saying that we need to be putting casinos in areas that don't see a lot of development, that don't see a lot of economic stimulus, because this is a way to generate some kind of activity and jobs and attractions in neighborhoods that have been, like, systematically disinvested. And then I hear people from those same areas saying that, like, no, we don't need things that are going to further impoverish our population in an area where people are already, like, vulnerable to getting scammed in various ways, to being, to that, like, various, like, quote unquote, like, vice industries are already targeting, right? So, those folks argue that we need to put the casino, like, somewhere where there, either near the airport or downtown, like, where there's going to be a lot of tourists that come for that purpose and are able to spend money there, and, like, that way it's going to be a kind of a healthier presence in the city. So, I see the point in both arguments. I mean, I think that it's very frustrating to, like, be having this conversation and being, like, weighing these two options and thinking about, like, what's going to be less bad. At the end of the day, like, yeah, it's better to harness vice to generate revenue for municipal government, I think, than like spending money on policing it. You're not, it's like you're trying to mess with the supply when the problem is that there is a demand for this stuff. This is like the drug, the failure of the drug war. It's like a giant lesson in that. And I mean, a prohibition and anything, any kind of any law enforcement targeted advice. But the fundamental problem is that people are, like, we should be focusing our public resources on dealing with the issues that spur the demand, that that lead people to smoke at a young age, that lead people to drink at a young age, that lead people to abuse drugs, that lead people to gamble unhealthily. We need to be investing in providing for people and helping people meet their needs and like fulfill their potential in life, so they don't feel like they need to be like spending their money or spending their physical health or mental health on these things that are hurting them. But in the meantime, if we're gonna try to harness these vices for our own benefit, I don't know. I feel like somebody's got to really cost it out and figure out where it's going to generate the most tax revenue. Like this doesn't need to be a theoretical question. Like you could actually do the numbers and figure out where are we going to make the most money as a city? Like which location would actually create the most traffic and attendance at this casino, this theoretical casino? Somebody can figure it out. Like we need to. I feel like a more technocratic approach to this would probably be best. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. There is a logical way that the city of Chicago could analyze this matter so that it works to their advantage. I can guarantee you that if things stay the way they have been, that approach will not be followed.
This is Chicago.
This is Chicago. So it'll all be some kind of inside deal. Somebody had the inside track, wanted the land use for this, that, or the other thing.
Yeah.
But you raise a very good point. Like, if the purpose of the casino is to essentially soak the suckers who go to the casino so that we can have the revenue to pay the bills that we as a government rack up, then you're right. You should put it where it will maximize the soaking of the suckers.
Yeah.
You're absolutely correct. You should. I'm not even certain that a casino would have a spillover economic development benefit for a community, any community, because it's an enclosed box that people run into.
Well, look, but inside the box, there's people working, right? There's also the construction of the thing. There's security. There's like, vendors who run the restaurants. There's people that they employ. But that just having those jobs inside the box also. There's like a roadmap for equity that has to be created, because again, like, for example, like casino workers tend to be unionized. Like, how do we make sure that like we want these to be union jobs, of course, like, because, to be providing a fair wage and benefits to people. How do we make sure that the unions aren't just, a pipeline to get a certain type of person in there and provide jobs for certain type of people and not others? Like it's the same kind of situation where, you talk about big construction projects. Why do the building trade unions support TIF deals? Like you're the one who explained this to me. It's like they see this as jobs for their people, but their people don't live in the city of Chicago. So around something like Lincoln Yards or these other big TIF deals, you have these sort of colossal showdowns between the service workers, so your SEIUs and your CTUs, and your building trades union folks. And it's because it's the people who work in the schools who feel the pain of tax revenue not going to the schools, but it's the people who build the thing, the DePaul Arena or the Lincoln Yards or whatever, who want those jobs, but they don't live in the city. And so to them, the sucking of the revenue away from the city doesn't really represent any kind of danger. So, same thing with the casino. It's like, who are the people who have those jobs? So anyway, but the thing is that, like, if it's in the city of Chicago, people already go to O'Hare, you know what I mean, to take advantage of the jobs there. It's one of the biggest job centers in the city, but there's no affordable housing near O'Hare. So people have to travel like 2 or 3 hours a day to get to that, to those jobs. So, I don't know. There's a lot to consider. It's not so simple as like, oh, well, this is going to bring X number of jobs. Like, we have to be asking for who and what kind of jobs, and where exactly those jobs are. How permanent are they? Are they union? Are they union jobs and stuff like that? Another thing, that I haven't heard about this, because people talk about putting the casino near O'Hare, which I think would be maybe. I understand the logic, but there's also already a casino over there.
Absolutely.
So I don't know, like, is it better to have that competition, or is that going to generate less revenue? But how come nobody's talking about putting the casino near Midway? Like, why wouldn't you put the casino in Mike Madigan's district? And in fact, I wonder if this is the inside track in all of this whole story.
Oh, Madigan.
if the reason this passed is because Madigan's already got something going about getting the casino to be in his district.
Wow, you're giving Madigan a lot of credit. I don't know if even Mike Madigan thinks that far ahead of the game. Well, that's Adolfo that he knows a little thing about Southwest Side politics. But no, I when you said put the casino out with the other casino, then you're turning it into like Vegas. So, I mean, I could see an argument being made. You put all your casinos in one general area and turn it into just like Vegas.
Yeah, and then they compete with each other to who's the best casino.
But let me just go back to, and I'll put on my good government hat for a moment. This is absolutely the most regressive way to fund government, to have a casino. Delmarie Cobb was one of our bonus guests this weekend, and she went off on a great riff about this. This is just soaking the poor, the people who could least afford to pay for it. And it's just amazing, remarkable how quickly everybody rallied around. I guarantee you that the legislators didn't have time to read the gambling. I haven't had a chance to even look at it. I'm pretty geeky about these things.
Yeah.
So here we are. We've signed on to expanding rapidly, vastly expanding our gambling industry, our gaming, as they call it, industry here in the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago. And people don't really know what the consequences are. Haven't thought it through, but full speed ahead because they need the money, and it's the easiest way to raise money.
Yeah, and I mean it is like, I don't know if anybody's ever been to Vegas. Like, you go inside, who's gambling? Like, at least 50% of the people in there are like elderly people. Like, maybe some of them are rich elderly people, but I'm pretty sure that like a lot of the people who are spending their money in a casino are people who are whatever, they don't have that much of a disposable income. So I hear what Delmarie is saying. I think, I don't know, you do this vice ranking?
I do my vice ranking. I'm going to do that for Adolfo when he comes in. The vice ranking, I guess I haven't done that with you. I've done it with pretty much every other guest who comes on. Of all the vices that we tax now, which do you think is the most destructive? And so I put on my list of potential vices: reefer, gambling, alcohol. What else is
cigarettes?
Cigarettes is another one. And for a while, I have the soda pop tax. That's so funny because I remember you wrote a really impressive investigation about the Cook County government and how it struggles to find the money to pay its bills, in part because it will not raise. It's got this sort of informal agreement with the city that it will not raise the property tax, let the city raise the property tax. So they at one point, Tony Preckwinkle resorted to a soda pop tax. There was a huge outpouring of opposition, right? They had to reverse it. No opposition to gambling. I would tell you right now, gambling is far more destructive to people than a soda pop tax. I think it's far more regressive form of taxation that'll hit harder at people than a soda pop tax.
Yeah, it's sort of, I don't know if it's really an apples to apples comparison. I mean, cigarettes, I would like, okay, so in on the scale of things that you consume that have a harmful effect on your body, I would say probably like reefer is the least is the lowest on the totem pole,
and yet
in
the
terms
most
of,
resistance.
Well, yeah, but that's that's for political reasons, I guess. Probably cigarettes are worse than alcohol, but it depends. I don't know what the statistics are in terms of people who struggle with alcohol abuse versus cigarette dependence, but what you see over the decades, as our culture goes from one in which you have like ubiquitous smoking to one in which it's really only poor people who are smoking anymore, is now cigarettes are really expensive and it's a tax on the poor. It's a tax on cigarette taxes. While I'm not saying that they should be removed, they are, in a very real way, like a tax on poverty, because you are way more likely to be smoking if you're poor, and so you're disproportionately, experiencing these taxes. Same thing with the soda tax. It's a thing. Why aren't we taxing, I don't know, massages? Like what let's tax
Yachts.
LaCroix. Let's fucking tax seltzer water and see what kind of people come out of the woodwork to protest against that. Like this was the conversation in my household when we were talking about the soda tax. you have this like shiny public health argument that you can attach to the soda tax when all you really need it for is revenue. But if we're really talking about taxing the rich, and if our only avenue to do that is through taxing what people consume, let's tax the things rich people consume.
Yeah.
So
that would be a form of progressive taxation.
Right. Taxing La Croix is a form of progressive taxation.
I don't even know what La Croix is.
It's like the sparkling water with the flavors.
Oh, did you know what it was, Adolfo?
Oh,
LaCroix.
I was gonna say, us hillbillies call it LaCroix.
Whatever, however you pronounce it. I don't know. I studied French in high school.
I'm like, I didn't know what it was. I've been nodding along going, what is that? But hey, wait, on a totally unrelated topic.
Yeah.
I have to ask you today's trivia question.
What?
Do you know who Billie Eilish is?
No.
It's okay not to know.
No, I don't.
Do you know?
I
don't really know.
Wait till he gets on the microphone.
Oh, wait till he gets. All right.
Asking people without a microphone questions.
I will tell you my when we're off mic, so I don't give the answer away. So Adolfo has to know. Anyway, this is my way of saying that Adolfo is in the studio. We're ready to bring him on. The famous El Dragon. He's going to do. Maya, you're going to love this. His sleazy Ed Burke update. Okay.
Love it.
Yeah, sleazy.
Stick around.
Yeah, for the sleazy Ed Burke update. He has a copy of a.
No, I couldn't print it.
Oh, he
out.
doesn't. Oh, okay, he doesn't.
But it's here. It's all in the noodle.
You guys are driving me
Dr.
crazy.
G's gonna kill you.
Yeah, he's gonna
Driving
kill
me
me.
crazy.
All right. Anyway, we're gonna bring El Dragon to a microphone after this. Hey, everybody! What you're about to hear are the piano stylings of Jeff Manuel. Man, listen to Jeff go. Jeff Manuel has been playing piano around Chicago for years. He's played for conventions, for celebrities, played in basement bars with blues bands. He's played at prestigious social clubs, fine restaurants, and in the intimacy of private homes. Book Jeff Manuel at jeffmanuelpianist.com. Don't worry, I'll spell his name at the end of this commercial. You know what Chicago Magazine said? They said that Jeff Manuel is, quote, as comfortable with Chopin as he is with Cole Porter. He's excellent and his performance is joyous. He offers an elegant stream of compositions and interpretations that entertains the mind but won't hurt the ears. To hear more of Jeff Manuel's work and to book Jeff for your next event, go to jeffmanuelpianist.com. I'm going to spell it out for you, people. J-E-F-F. M as in Mary, A, N as in Nancy, UELPIANIST.com. Take it away, Jeff Manuel.
When I was a little girl, I remember singing the song, "This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine." We've said it's time to bring in the light, and it's sure shining on all of us tonight. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Thank you very much. God bless you all, and God bless Chicago.
The Ben Joravsky Show is supported by the Northwestern Summer Writers Conference. Now in its 15th year, the 3-day conference held in Chicago features a diverse array of workshops, speakers, discussions, and readings. Learn more at sps.northwestern.edu/writers. Today's Ben Joravsky Show was brought to you in part by Chicago Architecture Center. See the city from a whole new angle on a Chicago Architecture Center tour. With more than 85 tours to choose from, there are endless stories to discover. Book your tour at architecture.org/tours. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm on a tour. Oh my, what magnificent architecture. All right, everybody, your Ben Joravsky Show, hour number 2. for, what is today? Tuesday, June 11th is just moments away. But before we get into that, we would like to thank the following unions for jumping on board and helping bring back the Ben Joravsky Show. First up, it is the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, Local 126 in District 8, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 9, and the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150. A big thank you to those unions for jumping on board and helping bring back the Ben Joravsky Show. And, of course, today's program is brought to you by our good friends at the Chicago Federation of Labor. Hour number 2, let's go. It is Tuesday, June 11th, and live from the Chicago Sun-Times Chicago Reader Studio on Racine Avenue, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. In this hour of the program, we still got our Chicago Raider colleague Maya Duke-Masaba in studio. It's the return of Adolfo Mondragon, election lawyer, and the wild man is back. I repeat, the wild man is back. The one, the only, Mark Sims. And now your host, also a wild man, all right? Chicago Reader columnist Ben Joravsky.
Yes, but not as wild as Mark Sims, who's on his way. Maya agreed to stick around. Adolfo's in the studio, election law lawyer, and our resident expert on sleazy Ed Burke going on. We bring him on to explain what Alderman Ed Burke is up to. And Adolfo and I almost did the show in about like a rushed 5 or 10 minute phone call today. We were talking so fast to get our ideas out because we see eye to eye completely on this. Folks,
have you talked about?
I have talked about. I wrote about it in a reader. I'm mini obsession with the issue of the federal indictment of Ed Burke and all the unanswered issues embedded in that indictment, which really speak to how we do business in the city of Chicago and what is permissible and what's legal and what's illegal in the city of Chicago. I almost, heavy emphasis on the word almost, feel sorry for Ed Burke. I said almost, okay?
Yeah, you shouldn't feel sorry for him.
No, I don't feel. All right. I said almost. Anyway, we're going to bring Adolfo on. Maya's sticking around. I would love to hear her thoughts on this as well as we take this deep dive. Before we do that, D, what's the update?
Well, we got one question that we're asking everybody today. After a federal judge said that there should be no delay in construction on the Obama Center in Jackson Park, we decided to go to the Facebook page, the Twitter page, and ask all of you on the YouTube live stream, if you could pick any place in the city of Chicago to put the Obama Center, where would you put it? You people are awesome. We have some responses here. Let's read everybody's thoughts here. We're getting some love on the Twitter page. That's different.
Oh, Twitter.
That's awesome.
Hey, that's all Leah, man. She's our Twitter guru over there.
All right, it says here, this is from Goobs.
Goobs, all right.
Twitter's so weird. Goobs says for the Obama Center, hey, how about the McCormick Place men's room?
Oh, Goobs. That's where we should put the casino.
All right, Jay says, why is this going up again? Oh, that's right. Never mind. All right, how about Carol? Carol says near the Loop or Shed Aquarium.
Put it in the Shed Aquarium?
Near the Loop or near the Shed Aquarium.
I got it. Okay.
Where, if anywhere you could put in the city, the Obama Center, where would you put it? Let's see here. Someone, Norm, says, in the middle of the lake.
One of the dailies wanted to put an airport in the middle of the lake, so it's not that far-fetched.
You know, I have a bone to pick with the Shed Aquarium. I don't understand why it's so expensive.
That is,
and I think it's a crime. I think it's a crime.
It's like
people in the city, more than half. What is it like? How many people in the city of Chicago live on less than $25,000 a year? They have families who make less than $25,000 a year.
And the free pass isn't really not all of that either, because you get there and it's like all these wonderful exhibitions and exhibits, but your free pass only gets you like the, limited.
Yeah, on the one night a week.
On the one night a week or whatever.
No, once a month or whenever
Right.
that is
So
free.
you can't see the awesome, limited exhibition of such and such or whatever.
I mean, it's $25.
Yeah, it's 25. And by the way, let me remind you one more time, it's on Parkland.
Right.
Parkland.
So maybe if they build a casino, maybe they could afford to make the aquarium cheaper for the kids. You know what I mean?
Cut a deal.
If you could put the Obama Center anywhere in the city of Chicago, where would you put it? Oh, how about Rat from Above 1988? Dude, Twitter's awesome. Rat from Above 1988. Tell us how you really feel, Rat from Above. Rat from Above puts in Guantanamo Bay, right next to the new facilities completed during Obama's tenure, on the U.S.-Mexico border, complete with its own detention
Dude, it's
center.
like Bridgeport is like chiming in on Twitter.
Yeah, no kidding. We got all of Bridgeport listening to the Ben Joravsky show. And
We know how they feel about black people, right?
And we'll read more of your responses later on in the program. Where should the Obama Center be in Chicago? Head over to the Ben Joravsky Show Facebook page at Benny J Show, BENNY, the letter J Show. That's also the same handle on the Twitter page and Instagram if you want. The Ben Joravsky Show. Ben's in control of that, so I don't know. We'll get back to you in like 2 days.
Not that quick with the. I think I just. Oh my God, Maya! I didn't tell you this.
What?
I don't know if you noticed this, but I was going to post a picture of you from last week on my Instagram page.
Oh, yeah?
And I made a mistake and I posted it on my Facebook page.
That's fine. I saw it.
But it didn't have anything on it. I was like, pushed the wrong button. Oops. And then, well.
My mom loved it. It's fine.
It's a great picture, by the way. All right. By the way, I think the gentleman who suggested putting Guantanamo Bay was making a very political, left-wing political suggestion. He was
Right.
Oh, you mean Rat from Above,
Yeah.
1988?
Yeah. I'm just saying. I'm
True that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's making a
sorry,
very
Rat from Above,
Yeah.
1988.
I'm just saying, it may be a valid political reason. All right, Adolfo, let's get down to things here. The Ed Burke sleazy update. Ed Burke, alderman of the Chicago City Council, 14th Ward, former chairman of the Finance Committee, the most powerful alderman in the city of Chicago, slates judges. That's a whole other issue. Right. We'll talk about that next time.
Well, not anymore, right?
Yeah, he no longer gets to slate it, but he did for years. His wife's on the Supreme Court. All right, that Ed Burke. You had a chance to read the federal indictment against him.
It's a long-ass indictment. It's 19 counts. But what, as I was going through it, the things that I actually was interested in are subtleties like, okay, for example, there are allegedly 3 victims and 1 co-conspirator, right? Mm-hmm. So let's name them. There's the post office developers. There is the museum, the Burger King people.
Museum. It's the Field Museum, right? I think it was the Field Museum.
Was it turned out to be the Field Museum?
I think it was
because
the
it
Field
says
Museum.
Museum 1 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the co-conspirator is the businessman Q, whatever his name is, from up in Irving Park. And the first interesting thing is that all of the victims got a boon out of this indictment, and the guy who was the co-conspirator got effed. He didn't get anything. His permit was denied despite whatever Burke did to try to get that sign approved. He didn't get anything, but the the developers for the old post office, they got a Class L designation, they got a TIF, they got work smoothed over with the water department, work smoothed over with the Amtrak people. All of that major windfall worth millions and millions of dollars that allegedly was something corrupt that Ed did, and yet the feds allowed not only this to happen, but then even after they disclosed the indictment, they didn't go to city council and say, "Oh, by the way, people, you should avoid all of this stuff because it's a major windfall for these people."
All right, let's break it down. Let's take the post office case first. I talked about this last week. I wrote about it. This is a favorite obsession of mine, Adolfo. So here's the deal. The developers of the old post office, which is this enormous complex that straddles the Congress that nobody knows what to do.
Ida B. Wells.
What's that?
Oh, that's right.
Ida B. Wells.
Ida B. Wells. Yes, correct. Thank you for correcting me. So for years and years, city's been struggling how to develop it. A developer could come forth, ushered in by Rahm, to essentially use the benefits of what they call a Class L designation, which means that huge property tax breaks because you're preserving a valuable old building.
Right, the landmark. So there's like 3 categories.
3 categories.
And I guess,
and an $18 million TIF handout to build some kind of park plaza. So it would enable him to make money developing this, and therefore allow him to develop this white elephant. Somehow or other, Ed Burke came to the conclusion that this should not happen unless Ed Burke, got this developer to hire him, Ed Burke, to be his property tax lawyer, which right there and again should be illegal because...
And it is illegal, right? I mean, basically what he did was illegal. My my beef with this indictment.
No, time out. It's not illegal for Ed Burke, the finance chair,
to exchange favors.
No, it's not illegal for if this company wanted to hire Ed Burke because they thought his mastery of property tax was that is in its
and
of
that's
itself.
a very thin line and on the slippery slope.
Yes. All right, go. So I cut you off. So that was the deal. Ed Burke was shaking them down. The feds, Danny Solis was taping the conversations.
But
correct?
here's the question too. So you read the indictment and it's in chronological order, or at least some semblance of it. And for the post office people, it starts out. Ed Burke approached Alderman A, Danny Solis. So now they're both saying, yeah, let's make some money off of this, right? Then they meet with the developers, and they have this meeting where Ed Burke says, "Oh, and by the way, you should hire my firm."
Yeah.
Right. So there's a pitch, and then after the meeting, Danny and Ed Burke get together, and they're like, "Okay, how are we going to do this?" And then sometime later on, the feds come in and feed Danny Solis a ruse to tell Burke. So that's where they come in on the chronology. So it's never clear, were the developers always in on this, never in on this? When was Danny Solis in on this? Did he
Wait, what do you mean by the feds?
So in the indictment, it's numbered, right?
Yeah.
So this happened first, then this happened, then this happened. So some time passes, and then
what's the ruse, though? What's the ruse?
The ruse was that Danny would go back to Ed and say, "Hey, they have some trouble with the Amtrak people, but I think that we could get them to give you business. I get my little profit off of that in exchange for you helping them out with this."
So in other words, that was not that was a made up.
That was a made up thing, exactly.
Yeah,
and then
Amtrak
sometime later, more things develop, and then again the feds feed Danny what to tell Burke again, right? So in the chronology of this thing, my questions are: one, were the developers ever in on this? It doesn't, the way it reads like they didn't know what was going on. They just kept asking for favors. They were like, "Oh, Ed's being really nice to us." Yeah. Right. And it's Danny who's feeding through because of the Fed saying like, "Hey, tell him if now you help us with this, then we'll really give you the business or whatever." Right. For the property taxes. So it's not clear whether the developers were in on it at any point from the beginning, in the middle, and the end. It's not clear when the feds came in with Danny. Was it from the beginning, from the first meeting where they agreed to, shake down or, ask for the bribe or whatever? Or was it sometime later, Danny gets busted getting his Viagra or whatever, and then he comes in? And so if the developers were never in on it and they're benefiting from this, did they do this all without knowing what was going on? Or did they, like the other people, also intend to do the quid pro quo? So they should also be criminally indicted at some point. So all of these questions are out there. I don't know what happened.
All right, let me some things I think I do know from having obsessively followed this. Let's still break down the chronology of Danny Solis' role. Danny Solis is the alderman from the 25th Ward, former alderman of the 25th Ward. He's chairman of the zoning committee. He did something that the feds found out about.
Right.
We do not know what that is, but at least I have not seen specifically what it was that the feds concluded on him, but this is about 2014. In exchange for leniency on the prosecution of him, it's pretty clear that he agreed to wear a wire.
That predates when this whole thing starts.
So at some point, Danny Solis starts wearing a wire.
But they didn't word the indictment and from the beginning, Alderman A was in on this or whatever. They let things develop, and then they say, "Oh, and at this point, then we tell Danny what to say and what to do."
Yes.
And they never say like, "Oh, the developers were in on it as well." Whereas with the Burger King people, they went to the feds.
Yes.
And it's in the indictment. It says they went to the feds and they said, "Hey, this is what's going on."
All right,
That's
the
how they
Burger
got 'em
King.
all.
Okay, two separate. We talked about that. The Burger King is a franchisee, a vendor in Ed Burke's ward who wanted to expand a Burger King franchise, and Ed Burke literally essentially told them, if you want to expand, if you want to get the zoning approval to expand this franchise, you have to hire me as your property tax lawyer. And that was Exhibit A in the case against Alderman and Prerogative. That's one of the fight that Maya wrote about low income housing on the Northwest Side. Now, here's my deal with the feds and the TIF deal for the old post office. I do not understand this. Why the feds allowed it to happen? Follow me in this. In other words, the feds knew. Follow me on this one. The feds knew that Danny Solis was trying to negotiate a deal in which this a TIF recipient was going to hire Ed Burke's law firm in exchange for getting Ed Burke's approval on the TIF. Do you follow that? Mm-hmm. So before they got their TIF, they would have to hire, that's a quid pro quo and it's illegal, hire Ed Burke's law firm. What's unclear is whether the developer was, how much the developer was in on it. In other words, did the developer know that was the developer party to the federal investigation? Was the developer working in cooperation?
Because then they would have dirty hands, and they would also be liable, just like the business manager with the sign.
If they didn't know.
If they did know, this was good because
no. If the developer did not
knew
know
about the ruse, right.
If the developer was in on the ruse, then the developer would be a complying witness
with the government,
with the federal government.
But if they were actually legitimately asking, hey, you need to do this for us, then why do they get away with this?
Yeah, why do they? So I always said that they voted for the TIF. Here's the thing: they voted. The city council voted for the TIF. They approved it, $18 million. Danny and Ed Burke.
That cannot be reversed, I think. It's passed.
There also could be a scenario in which, in exchange, the developer agreed to cooperate with the feds in exchange for the feds not, going after them for participating in the criminal dealings.
Okay.
And there's a long history of that in Chicago.
No. Okay, I get that. But the feds still allowed the TIF to go through and get voted up by the full city council. They
don't care about this TIF.
No, but that's
what I care about.
Wait, hold on, Maya. I said this before. Like when Blagojevich, when Blagojevich was about to auction off the Obama's vacant Senate seat, the feds swooped in and kept it from doing it.
So we cannot allow this to happen.
That's my thing. Right. My fantasy was, how come when they had the TIF vote, just when Mayor Rahm took his little gavel and said, let's have the feds didn't swoop in. And
you guys, because this is not like the Blagojevich Senate seat situation. This is like the silver shovel situation.
Yes, I agree with that.
This is, and you know this, you were participating in Robin's podcast, The City.
But with those silver shovel,
you
could undo convictions, or you could,
No.
But they allowed a crime.
That's not my point. My point is that the feds allowed John Christopher to continue his criminal dealings and profiting from these corrupt aldermen because they needed him for the information he was giving them about the aldermen. It was Robert Mueller.
Yeah.
It was his people.
Just to help people.
They were interested.
Wait, Maya, help people out a little bit. Most people probably don't know what silver shovel is.
So basically, in the early 90s, there was this mob-connected guy who ran a construction and refuse disposal business named John Christopher, who was bribing a bunch of aldermen on the west side to allow him to dump construction waste in residential neighborhoods in North Lawndale. And these dumps grew to be like 6-7 stories tall. They were across the street from schools. And eventually, the feds started working with this illegal dumper. So he would wear a wire when he was having dealings with these aldermen, and he got like Percy Giles and Harold Bloom and a bunch of these aldermen on the tape.
Ward.
And the feds were interested in convicting the aldermen and sending those people to prison for corruption, but they never stopped John Christopher from doing the dumping, and they prevented the EPA from working to clean up the dumps. So the feds don't care about these things.
Oh no, they don't care. But here's the thing: generally, when there's a deal like that, the person has to pay restitution, so they don't get a windfall. They don't get the boon of keeping all the money or whatever. They're like, we're allowing you this to happen so that we can convict X. But when it's your day before the judge and we tell them to take leniency on you, you have to pay restitution and give back the money that that was ill-gotten. It's usually the case. Mm-hmm. Here, no one takes back the TIF.
I'm with you 100% on this one. So I agree with Amaya. There's
it should
such
be legal
a good
and void
comparison.
from
nobody
it's
claimed
like the taint. It's already tainted by this corruption. So it should be the deal.
Exactly.
The deal is tainted. So you're saying it should be reconsidered. It should be void.
Because there's actually language in the TIF agreement that says if you knowingly go into business, this is voided if you have a business deal with the city of Chicago. So in other words, there's rules that are in the books that are to prevent anything called remotely resembling a conflict of interest. Mm-hmm. definitely classify as a conflict of interest.
Right. So, but even if the language wasn't there, my point is that there is this windfall of millions and millions of dollars.
18 million.
That,
you're talking about
that falls
Class
upon
L,
the benefit of someone who, whether they cooperated or not, we don't know. Well, it seems nebulous to me in the way they worded it, but let's assume that they were, right? That they were helping the government. But it's not like the government says like, hey, you help us get this guy, and guess what? In exchange, we'll allow him to do all this corrupt stuff for you, and you'll get away with it. You know, you'll just benefit from this and walk away, and that's a lot of money that these people are getting. And when it was voted upon, it's illegal because none of these people knew about all the influencing that was going on. It was done in an illegal fashion, and so. But there's no do-over.
There's no Maya. Both Danny Solis and Ed Burke voted to approve the $18 million TIF handout. Both of them voted for it, even though they were conspiring behind the scenes to force the developer who was getting the money to hire Ed Burke as a property tax lawyer. So they were so just blatantly disrespectful and disdainful of city law that they, even though they were shaking the guy down, they voted to approve the deal. And I don't understand how that deal is not, you're right, being forced for a do-over.
Right. It's illegal. So someone like Lightfoot should say, hey, we're taking this money back, or we're voting it again with all the cards on the table, knowing that this is what was going on and knowing the role that the developers partook in. Did they know? Did they not know? Did they cooperate? Did they not cooperate?
But I bet now that that would require... That would probably entail some kind of court battle, because I'm sure.
The developers are not going to want to give it back.
The developers are going to say this is a contract breach, that the city is going back on something it's signed to, and I mean.
But then you would have them in court. Well, were you aware that?
But remember, for contracts law, you can't contract something that's illegal, so it's void from even through contract law. It would be illegal.
See.
You're asking the right questions, man.
That's what
You're
I'm saying.
asking the right questions.
That's why he's our in-house lawyer.
So I was coming here prepared to talk about how fucked is Ed and blah blah blah. You know, what is he facing? What's his game plan? Why is he still fighting this? And I'm looking at this and I'm like, whoa, what's? There's a lot of city money.
What kind of money did the museum?
No. So the museum were probably the ones that didn't get anything at all, because they were extorted. The quid pro quo was like, look, we're trying to get this ticket admission price.
Yeah, just what Maya was talking about. Jacking it up, admission price.
And
Burke said, well, I won't help you, or no. He said, I'm not going to help you because you guys didn't hire as an intern the daughter of
Terry Kabinski,
right?
And then, alderman of the
so then they
ward.
were scared, and they said, all right, well, we'll offer, not only will we not, we won't give her an internship anymore, we'll offer her a full-time position if that appeases you. And Burke went back and said, hey, they're offering you this job, and he voted for the price raise, the hike, and then she didn't even take the job. Like a day later, she said, oh, I don't want the job. So they didn't get anything out of it. They were clearly extorted.
Field Museum,
the Field Museum. I think those are the people with the cleanest hands. The Burger King people come second, but not quite, because they did get their permits, and after the construction was halted, they still got help with some of that as well. So they got a boon out of it too.
But just think about that.
Whether or not they would have legitimately got it anyway.
They didn't hire Burke.
No, they didn't hire.
They got it anyway.
They got it anyway. $10,000 to Tony, right? They did give.
Oh, they did.
Yeah,
exactly. You're right.
Good memory.
But she supposedly returned the money, right?
Yeah, well,
after the fact, yeah. I mean, after
and
it
even
came
then,
out.
reporting it, didn't they take a long time to report?
But
it?
here's okay. Now here, when I read this indictment, I read the Field Museum one. And this gets to me, Maya Adolfo, one of my pet peeves about Chicago. Everybody knows how Chicago operates, but everybody pretends. If you're in civic Chicago, if you're in respectable Chicago, you have to pretend as though it's legit. So you remember right after Ed Burke was indicted, he had a fundraiser.
Yeah, everybody showed up.
So many people showed up.
Oh my God! And Joe Moore told me, "Well, that wasn't illegal. That wasn't for his legal fees.
The thing
we
about
just
that
love
party,
each other."
Maya, the thing about that party, because I got to go to it once, is that it's like a royal coronation. That people line up for long, and they kiss the ring for Christmas. They're like, Merry Christmas, and let me kiss the ring. And because he greets every single person that comes into that fundraiser.
Yeah.
So it's not like just, I'm going to show up to a fundraiser. No, I'm going to show up to a fundraiser, bend the knee, kiss the ring, get the blessing, and let him know that I came and gave him money.
Yeah.
So it's even beyond just showing up somewhere and saying like, hey, how you doing? You know?
And I'm sure, I do not know if the Field Museum was there. So, but I can tell you, I've never heard the Field Museum come out and say, oh my God, this is outrageous. He tried to shake us down to hire Terry Kavinsky daughter.
But they knew how to do it. They all he wanted was an internship. They came back and they said, we'll give her a full-time job. Just don't mess with us, you know?
Oh man.
They just wanted to raise those ticket prices.
Right,
so that more kids from Chicago
And here's the other
couldn't
thing.
afford to go there.
Just think about this. What role, legitimately, does Ed Burke have in that? I mean, just think about this.
None.
Ed Burke is just one vote in the Chicago City Council. How could he prevent, if the mayor of Chicago is signed on to raising the ticket prices at the Field Museum or any museum, what role does Ed Burke have? Why are they placating Ed Burke? He's just one vote. It's
Exactly.
and by the way, I go back to the TIF handout. Ed Burke's trying to shake them down for property tax business. Mayor Rahm wants him to get the TIF dollars because he just loves throwing TIF money around. Who do you think would win? If it came down to a showdown vote, do you think Ed Burke is going to say, Mayor Rahm, I am not allowing that to happen? You know what I'm saying? People go along with the corruption in the city.
It's the psychology behind it, right? That this guy is so powerful, knows so many people, and can do things. And that's the response to it. But you're right. If someone actually told him put up or shut up, you know, even Rahm did that though. Remember, he had a chance to take the finance committee away from him, and he only did some half-assed.
Even Rahm chickened out of every single fight.
All these people, because the perception of the power that he holds was such developed over years and years and years that if someone would have just said put up or shut up, the guy would have just folded.
What happened when Lori Lightfoot did it.
Right.
It was so anticlimactic.
Right.
Now, do you think, Adolfo, and you worked for Ed Burke briefly when he was in full power, do you think Lori Lightfoot could have challenged Ed Burke the way she did if he had not been indicted?
Well, I guess that goes. The way to answer that would be what kind of character or person is Lori Lightfoot. I don't know her that well, but from what I perceive and her federal prosecutor background, I think that and the fact that she tussled with him previously over subpoenas and stuff like that, right? I think she wouldn't have backed down. I think she would have confronted.
But the issue is whether the alderman is like Maya was saying, Joe Moore, the former alderman of the 49th Ward, he was either in love with Ed Burke, had like a man crush on him or something from their years in the council, or was afraid of him, or, wanted something for him, but he felt compelled to justify going to this fundraiser. I just don't know what the world would look like if the feds had not indicted Ed Burke, or if they had not filed that criminal charge, the first thing that got this going. But I do know that that's what led ultimately Lori.
So some of the other quirks reading this thing. One, for someone who's been doing this for a long time, why the hell did he use a cell phone a couple times to talk about business? Even mobsters know that. You don't use the phones. You don't use, Ed is so untouchable Teflon that, let me talk about it on my phone, my private line, because that's going to, insulate me from the feds or something like that.
He trusted Danny.
Well, no, but he could have had a face-to-face communication with Danny. In fact, he did a lot of the stuff face-to-face, and then occasionally he would dip into the phone.
No, Danny was leading him.
Yeah, this is just hubris.
Yeah, exactly.
These people have they have all kinds of ways of communicating that doesn't put them at risk.
And most of it was done face-to-face, and even those meetings. What I read from the indictment is that he never in the meetings with the developers of any of these people said, hey, this is the quid pro quo. He just said, oh, and by the way, my firm does, which is it's semantical. But the fact is that he's thinking about that, the semantics of it. If I say it this way, will that be illegal? Or if I say it this way, will that be illegal? Mm-hmm. So he's being careful about all these moves. And then he's on the phone hey, did we catch the big tuna?
That's Adolfo Mondragon. Maya's in the studio. I'm Ben Joravsky. Mark Sims is right here, ready to come on. We're going to do a shuffling of the guests after this break. We'll be right back with Mark Sims. Take care, everybody.
Cirque du Soleil's Big Top comes back to Chicago with its latest show, Volta. Venture into a captivating voyage of discovery inspired by the adventurous spirit of freedom, where a surge of action sparks a high-voltage journey. Volta. Playing May 18th through July 6th under the Big Top at Soldier Field. Tickets at CirqueDuSoleil.com. Volta thanks their partners Hennessy Black and Champagne Nicolas Fayette.
And for the record, I love puppies.
Today's Ben Joravsky Show was brought to you in part by Chicago Architecture Center. Discover the breadth and majesty of Chicago's architecture on a Chicago Architecture Center bus tour. From bungalows to Bauhaus, our expert docents will share the fascinating stories behind our city's architecture. Book your tour at architecture.org/tours. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm actually on a bus tour right now. Oh my, look at that wonderful piece of architecture. All right, everybody. Today's Ben Joravsky Show is also brought to you in part by Green Element Resale. It's located at 6241 North Broadway in Chicago, and people, it's badass, all right? Furniture, appliances, lamps, books, clothes, electronics. It's a thrift shop, but it's the only thrift shop in Chicago that helps bring you the Ben Joravsky Show. So if you're ever on Broadway between Granville and Devon, tell them thank you. And go check out Green Element Resale, 6241 North Broadway. And you can find more information about them at greenelementresale.com. People, it's Green Element Resale. It's fantastic. You go there, you will find all kinds of items. And more importantly, you will save. I was going to play the money sound, but I can't find it anywhere. Ching, ching. Oh, go ahead, Ben.
Ching, ching.
Oh, do that Ken Davis impression again. Yeah. All right.
You want me to hear my Howard Stern?
No. Welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show, live from the Chicago Sun-Times.
All right. Thank you very much, Dennis. Mark Sims is in the studio, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Sims is in the studio for years and years. He was a host of a show on public access in Chicago. I was his guest, and now, as I like to say, we flipped things around, and he's a guest on my show. Welcome back, young man.
You know what? I feel like R. Kelly, in a way. I was going to give this young lady over here this bottle of champagne.
Yeah.
And she looks like she bought the 8th grade.
She's young looking, but she's older than 8th grade.
But
is that real champagne?
You know it's not. Come on. I said I felt like I was sort of felt like I know, but this is not. This is just juice. You know. I gave y'all juice. I gave Maya juice, so I do feel kind of creepy.
Okay, yeah.
It's yours. It's juice. It's non-alcoholic.
Non-alcoholic. What else you got there?
I got shtick. You gotta have. I was telling people. I was telling you. Yeah. What's with the
goblet?
I was thinking about there was a movie. The cup. I mean, Ellen Chair. What do you call it? The Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Oh,
this is the best I can do.
Let's go Blues.
I was at the what you call it?
Are you watching that?
Am I washing it?
Watching the Stanley Cup.
A little bit. You know,
Okay.
I mean, it's good. The Game 7 should be good.
For 10 trivia points, who are the two teams playing?
I don't know, man. The Blues and the Bruins.
Wow.
Don't ask me where I pulled that right out of my
Look at the brain on Brad.
Fantastic podcasting here. This bag getting open.
Yeah,
Mark
you know,
Sims,
I need to find some scissors so I can put. See, the candy's gonna go in.
I see. Okay, it does look like
I got
the
this from the
Stanley Cup.
resale shop. What's the thing over here? What's over here next door?
Goodwill.
Goodwill. I was up at
yeah.
Goodwill because I said, where's the dollar store at?
All right, now before we go on to all the topics that you want to talk about, I have to ask you your Ed Burke thoughts. Do you think?
I have no thoughts about Ed. I asked Adolfo before you went on the air. Is Ed going to jail?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I don't see a way out.
Just masterful lawyering?
No, it's just so much stuff against him. I mean, generally it's he said, she said. Here you have his own, his own voice, his own recordings. There's a bunch, and it's not just one thing. It's a multitude of things,
So obviously, Mark, you're not too bothered by Ed Burke.
No, we don't care about Ed Burke.
All right.
How long is he going to go to jail? Is he going to go to jail like 2 days and come right back out?
I don't think so because if I remember correctly, Ben, when Fast Eddie, the first time he was sentenced.
Fast Eddie Verdoliak.
Yes. Didn't he get a slap on the hand
Yes.
by and then Posner in the Seventh Circuit said, No, what are you guys doing? He remanded back and said he needs a stiffer sentence than this.
Well, I think that, yes, the judge ruled that all the letters of recommendation or testifying to Ed Verdoliak's good character, I have that in air quotes, all the people who wrote in saying Ed had done this for me, that for me, the other thing, he took that into consideration, and he ended up giving him something like a suspended sentence. Don't quote me on this, everybody. I'm doing this off the top of my head. And that's when the feds appealed and said, this is ridiculous.
Exactly.
And Posner ruled. So, yeah, I think Ed Burke they will not slap his wrist if he is actually convicted of his crimes. All right, Mark Sims, your thoughts on the Obama Center coming to Jackson Park?
The Obama Center.
We've been talking about that all day.
Obama's my friend. I should have brought in my letter from the president. I showed you a copy at the old place. Remember that old place you used to work at, Dennis?
Oh,
yeah. You're right.
You are fired.
I know.
WCP, you're fired.
Yeah, don't get me started. But I miss but a few of those people I do miss. A few. And some people I don't miss.
Yeah. I'm with you on both of those fronts. But there are a lot of good people at that station.
I was in the green room. The green room, Dennis. You know what I'm talking about. And I'm reading the Sun Times. You're a bright one. Now I'm over here. Look at the people at TV land over here on the internet. See, I had to do it this way. I had to take a picture because I don't have a paper copy. But the horoscope, look at the horoscope. This is for Leo, and this is what it says for Leo horoscope today. This means you don't waste time with superficial chit chat about insane topics.
That was the Obama Center. That was your horoscope.
I mean,
the day you came on.
But that's what right here. It's in your bright one.
Yeah,
but that's what I do. I talk about stupid chit chat, insane topics. That's what I do.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you something that's of great substance. The Obama Center. Should it go in Jackson Park?
I like what Delbert Recab, and everyone should listen to that bonus interview. All the bonus. I'm really addicted to it because see, I get sad when you and Dennis go away on Fridays.
Yeah.
I gotta wait 3 days, but I don't have to wait 3 days because everyone should repost and Facebook and Instagram these bonus interviews. Mr. Library was great. Del Marie is always great. I don't take a picture with my glasses on. I mean, I'm so see. And who was the other person?
No, the one that you really liked, and I agreed with you, was Henry Davis, and he's the councilman from South Bend, Indiana. He was on about a week ago. Henry Davis, he's the equivalent of an alderman in South Bend, and he had some, how do I put this?
Kind words?
Very interesting observations about Mayor Pete Buttigieg, who's running for president of the United States, even though he doesn't really get along with black people in South Bend. I do not know how any Democrat thinks he's going to get the Democratic nomination.
He's not going to. The women down in South Carolina are going to wear his behind out.
Yeah.
The thing about Mayor Pete, because he will say something I read in the New York Times or something. I do read every once in a while. I believe it, Ben. I do. Very rarely, but I do read. And it was something about no. I look at stuff. I don't read. I look at stuff and I listen to those bonus interviews on the weekend. People, you got to listen to them. You got to tweet them out. They're fantastic.
ChicagoReader.com, Chicago.suntimes.com/Joravsky, or wherever else you download your favorite podcast.
I reposted your interview with Henry Davis, Stacey Davis Gates' brother, and who ran against Mayor Pete Buttigieg in South Bend. And people need to listen to it because this man I'm not saying anything bad about him. I mean, I'm just saying. But Pete Buttigieg, I read, he would say that, listen, I got the majority of the black vote in South Bend. See, that's the question I would ask Stacey Davis Gates and her brother Henry Davis. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Okay, Mayor Peter, he's kind of insensitive in a funny way. It's like he may not have any meanness. He's like kind of aloof in a way. He said, what do you think about black folks? What to think about it? He's like, that kind of person. He's like a professor or something.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that he would tell you, just like Mayor Daley would tell you, I got the majority of the black vote. What's the problem here? Black folks love me enough to vote for me.
Yeah.
So let's go on to the next subject.
Yeah.
So
I'm not actually certain if he did, Mayor Pete, get the majority of the black vote. He ran against Henry Davis in 2015. 2015, I want to say. Don't quote me on that. Sometime there. And he was victorious. He won decisively. It is true. I do not know, however, if Mayor Pete got the majority of the black vote, because black vote in South Bend, I learned from interviewing Henry Davis, is concentrated in one ward and one area. So I don't know what the breakdown was.
I'm not a detailed person like you.
Yeah, no, okay.
I don't get, Dolph, I don't get in the weeds like y'all. I have to go find the New York Times article, New Yorker article, and spend a half an hour of my life to find it.
But the thing, what came clear to me from interviewing Henry Davis and listening to him talk is how, I guess aloof is a very good word, or indifferent, Mayor Pete was to the concerns of the black residents of South Bend on such fundamental issues as getting along with police, and I'd urge everybody to listen to Henry Davis as well.
No, that was good, because if you look at my Twitter feed, this young lady, she can look at my Twitter feed, there's a picture of Mayor Pete and the interview, because I really believe that interview was so good. Well, all your stuff you and Dennis do is good. And I retweeted or reposted, and with a picture, I put a picture of Mayor Pete, because I put Henry Davis, because I ain't gonna look at that, it's some black guy, I ain't gonna listen to that. So I had to put a picture of Mayor Pete. You know marketing 101, right? That's the way it works.
Yeah.
So check it out.
Yeah. All right. Now, since you don't want to talk about the Obama Center,
No,
Jackson
it's
Park,
cool, but like you and Del Marie said, it should be at the old Michael Reese site. That's what it should have been.
Yeah.
No brainer. But the University of Chicago got a lot of power in this town.
And the
University
Obamas.
of Chicago want it over there, and they're going to put it over there.
Well, I understand that. I understand how politics works in the city of Chicago. I just say this one more time. I do not believe park space should be used for buildings. And when I've said that in the past, the reaction is, well, they have them. Look, people have said this to me, Mark. They put them in. You didn't complain when they put it in Lincoln Park, and it's like the Obamas want it in a park. The Obamas should get it in a park. That's the attitude that people in the city of some people in the city of Chicago have expressed to me, and I just like, all right, well, that's how you view things. You want to give your park space for a building. That's your decision. Universal basic income. That's what you want to talk about.
No, I want to talk. I want anything. Doesn't matter. Whatever, Adolfo. This gentleman over here looking at something else, and this lady looks bored as hell. Whatever you want to talk about. No. You had a guest the other day. I forgot who the lady's name. She mentioned Andrew Yang, which that was good. She said, you asked her who you think is gonna be president or something.
And Shaw,
our guest on Thursday. Very good.
Man, that guy. That's why he's
good.
the man.
He's good. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
What you call him now? No,
Dr.
wait
D.
till in the show.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that in the show. All right.
So anyway,
they love him for his body and his
yes.
mind, right? That's what you say.
Yeah.
No, but see, he's really talking about a lot of issues.
Mm-hmm.
And if people want to see who this guy is, look up PBS NewsHour. Look at the video PBS NewsHour. Andrew Lang, and we need a universal basic income. I know I need one. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about you, because I'm trying to glide onto retirement to get that Medicaid and Medicare, and I got another like 12 years or something. You know what I'm saying? And so we do need that Medicaid and Medicare. I think first we're going to have some kind of public option, then the Medicare for all that want it. And I think Andrew Lang did mention this. People want to keep their private health care, the rich folks or the stupid. Yeah, keep your private health care. But healthcare is really it's important. I'm like 20 years ago. I was in Georgia a long time ago, and I fell off a bike. I was pretending to be Evel Knievel or something a long time ago. I was in my 30s, and I was too old to do this. And I woke up the next day in the DeKalb County Hospital. I don't know what I paid, but I know it was taken care of, right? Or like you had, what's the guy who put the money together, get the Sun-Times? He used to be alderman of some ward.
Edwin Eisendrath. He was the guest on Thursday as well.
He told the great story. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people tell this story. I think it was a story like that in Michael Moore's Sickle about health care. Persons overseas. I mean, they're in London. They break their leg. I think he was in Sweden or something. Maybe it was London. No, he was in Edinburgh, right? Mm-hmm. Scotland, I believe. And he got hurt.
Yeah.
Went to the hospital. He said, "How much I owe you?" Nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing. We need to do it, whether it's universal. We're going to need a universal basic income. The only reason why we don't have riots is because of the opiates. Reefer, which you love so much, reefer, drinking, you know what I'm saying? So we should have riots, because people don't understand. Half of us, and I'm probably one of them, are a paycheck away from disaster. You know what I'm saying? Now, when I come knocking on Benny J's house and say, Ben, can I live with you, man? I'm getting hard times, man. You gonna let me in, right?
I'm gonna say who? Who?
So we have to push for that.
Yeah.
There was another guy. I'm telling you, I've been drinking the Benny J Kool-Aid. You don't know, Dennis. I drink it hard on the weekends because y'all off the air, but you're not off the air because you're on the podcast. There was some young guy on the podcast. He was Our Revolution or something.
Oh, that Joseph.
Yeah, and Our Revolution, he talked about, you ought to listen to these podcasts, these bonuses, all the shows, even when Dennis does his show during the week, it's great.
We did not make Mark do this, by the way. He's genuinely excited about our show.
I'm kissing your butt. I'm trying to be Marlon as possible so I can come back next month. That's how it works, people.
He's only been invited every month for like the last 2.5 years.
My nose is so brown, right? Oh, you can see it on TV. Okay.
Show the camera.
Okay. No. So the guy was talking about, he mentioned to somebody, I wonder, was he talking about Nancy Pelosi or somebody? He was talking to the lady in one of the D.C. offices, and he said something like, why don't we do this? Obama's president. And she looked out the window, she said, hey, where's the crowds at? I don't see nobody hollering and screaming, marching down the street.
Yeah.
You're doing an inside game. And we do need an inside game, but you also have to get the masses out to say, we want universal income, basic income. Because it may take 10 years. And I'll be, 66 by then.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think about that universal income, Adolfo?
Yeah, I think it's necessary, but it's not for people who are working or paycheck. Because see, here's the fallacy that conservatives and Republicans have about things like universal income, saying that it's equivalent to a handout. Any person who given a choice between having a low set amount of annual income that comes for them through the government, or having a good paying job that they're willing to work, but it will make substantially more than that minimum income, guess what? People are going to work. They're not going to say, I'm just going to chill and live a basic sustenance life at this really basic level. There will be some people on the margins, right? There always will be people who don't want to work, but it's very, very small. It's a marginal amount of people. It's really going to be for people who are disabled, people who have all sorts of issues that keep them from gainful employment, and it's going to be basically a safety net for those individuals. If you're able to work, guess what? You will always choose work, no matter how arduous the job is, so long as it pays well. And you can make more working than getting this basic income.
Do you think, Mark Sims, that there should be some kind of obligations that people have to fulfill before they get this income? Like, I don't know, be a crossing guard or something? Or
No.
You should just give them the money.
No,
okay.
I think you watch the PBS and Andrew Lang. He goes into great
Yang.
detail. Yang, I'm sorry, Yang, because he talking that Yang. Andrew talking that Yang. I'm going for president. No, so he said, some people like me, I would love to have an extra $1,000. I still work, but I get an extra $1,000. But it's gonna have to be worked out, because some people may not need it all that kind of stuff, like you just said. But some people really do. Half of all Americans can't come up with $400 for emergencies. I mean, the payday loan stores are everywhere. A lot of folks are broke. They just need a little bit of help to not go under and stay under.
Well, I think it would be separate, right? I mean, if you got the income, it means because you were not working, right? It's not to supplement your work income. So I think they're two separate issues. I think that on the one hand, there's this movement for a livable minimum wage, and then on the other hand, there's this safety net idea of this annual income for people who are not working or can't work.
Oh, this for working class people like me, man.
Well, listen,
because I don't think people will jive if they say, well, you could work and then also get this minimum income to supplement.
Well, here's the deal. When we do something like allow people who work at minimum wage jobs to be eligible for food stamps, we are effectively subsidizing the companies that pay them less than a livable wage, right? Because we're saying we acknowledge that a person who works at this job, like say working at McDonald's, cannot afford to live without getting food stamps. McDonald's says, well, we don't want to pay them more. We're not going to pay them more. So the federal government says, all right, we'll allow you to take the food stamps. Then what we're doing, we're subsidizing the McDonald's. We're essentially paying
what they refuse
to pay.
Right.
And so it's always interesting that people in America voters will tolerate that kind of indirect subsidy, which is effectively giving McDonald's more money. Yeah, if Mark Sims were president of the United States and proposed a universal basic income, I believe there would be an outcry, and Donald Trumps of the world would denounce you on Twitter.
No, we're very close. You know, there's so much computer technology. If you're a middle manager, there's an algorithm coming to get your job. If you are a cashier, you know, you go in the stores now, Walmart, At all the stores, they have automatic checkout. They've had it for years. I'm guilty. I've gone into the McDonald's and they say, I'll say, I ain't standing in that long line. I'm going to use this kiosk and get the hell out of here. So so a lot of these jobs are going to be replaced, period. And when and a lot of people like me, I didn't want to go to school like Leah. I didn't want to get a skill like Dennis did. He went to radio school. So I'm sorry. I want my Uncle Sam to take care of me, Adolfo. That means your tax dollars.
All right. Yeah, he's got it figured out. That's Mark Sims. Adolfo Mondragon is here as well. We're going to take a break and be right back. Hey, playing now at Steppenwolf Theater, the world premiere of Ms. Black for President. It's inspired by the true, that's true as in it really happened, TRUE story of Joan Jett Black, America's first drag queen presidential candidate. You know who created it, D?
No.
It was created by Tony nominee Tina Landau.
Oh.
And you know who else created it?
No.
Oscar winner Terrell Alvin McCraney. You know him, Moonlight.
Oh, yeah.
For tickets, visit steppenwolf.org. That's Steppenwolf, like the rock group from the 60s.
Hang tight, millennials.
Donald Trump did everything he could to derail, stop, halt, obstruct that investigation.
Right.
That is a violation of the law.
Yeah.
If he were anyone other than President of the United States, he would be in handcuffs.
All right, everybody, we're about to wrap the show up. We got some more podcasting for you, though, here. But first, we got to remind you that after 5 years in Andersonville, this company, Murray & White, they've made the difficult decision to close their doors. Everything right now in this store is on sale. I say everything, but one particular item may be gone from the store. You're going to hear about that in a moment. Everything in their store is on sale. Notable items, Voluspa and Nest fragrance brand candles. That's that item I was talking about that may not be around. They're 20% off. Boy, Ben Joravsky just loves candles. I heard this weekend he went on a candle spree and may have bought all of the candles at Murray & White. I don't know. What was your favorite scent again, Ben?
Cannabis.
Cannabis candle. Makes no sense, right? Why would you light a candle that smells like cannabis? You want to light a candle, get rid of cannabis, but whatever. You got to love our host, Ben Joravsky. So while 20% isn't the largest discount, lovers of both these popular candle lines have been buying them up. Just ask Ben. All rugs are 30% off in-store and new orders through June 1st. And it's like June 11th now. All floor staple furniture is 30 to 50% off. Antique furniture pieces, 40 to 50% off. Pillows, 40% off. Picture frames, 40% off. And jewelry, 40 to 50% off. Mirrors and wall art, 30 to 50% off. Home decor and accessories, 20 to 60% off. Lamps, 50% off. Store fixtures and lighting also on sale. Once again, after 5 years in Andersonville, Murray & White have made the unfortunate decision to close their doors. But everything in the store, besides candles, because Ben bought them all, is on sale. The Ben Joravsky Show continues. Welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show. Mr. Joravsky, man, take us home.
All right, that super cool music means we're almost at the end of a super cool show. Not done yet. We still have Adolfo and Mark Sims in the studio. And by the way, Adolfo, election law lawyer, also plays a mean piano. All right. He's playing that.
Air piano.
Air
I play
piano.
trumpet, though.
Real trumpet or air trumpet?
You can play you never brought it into the studio and play it.
Self-taught 3 years now, so
That's right.
I'm pretty
You
decent now.
told me that. Yeah. So you're going to bring it in next time you're on the show?
Yeah, annoy everybody in the building that works here. Play trumpet.
We got Leah, by the way. I don't know if you know this. She plays the violin. She's she's a serious
We can
musician.
form a mariachi here, and
And her brother plays guitar. We can have a whole band.
Seriously,
you know?
guitar, violin, trumpet. There you go.
Everybody at the Sun Times will hate our guts if we did that.
The trumpet
Mexican
player
fiesta
comes in.
night.
Anyway, all right, we got. I'm going to run something by Mark and Adolfo, get their response to it. Do you have an update for me, young man?
Absolutely, I do. It's our question of the day here.
Oh, yes.
The Obama Center. We've been talking about it all throughout the program. Looks like it is, in fact, going to be in Jackson Park, but we went to the Facebook and Twitter page at Benny J Show and asked all of you if you could pick anywhere in the city of Chicago, anywhere in this whole giant city, to put the Obama Center, where would you put it? A lot of people have weighed in on this, so let's go ahead and read your responses here. All right, let's see here. Andy says the Altgeld Gardens.
Yeah, Altgeld Gardens.
Not far from where you grew up, young man.
Well, the city's big. I'm a long way from there.
He says it's where
I don't live in the hundreds.
He said it's where Obama was a community organizer. I can talk, and extend the CTA red line to 130.
Here on both proposals.
All right, let's see here. Barry says on land owned by the University of Chicago. By the way, this is on Facebook where we're reading this from.
As opposed to buying the land or using our public land, okay?
On to Twitter. A lot of people weighed in on Twitter here. The question, once again, where in this big giant city would you put the Obama Center? Let's see here. Oh, Norm, we read his earlier. He put in the middle of the lake. Jojo dollar sign. Okay. That's this guy's name. Twitter's awesome. These names are great. Jojo dollar sign says one word. Dumpster.
Oh, I guess another Trump supporter doesn't like Obama.
All right, Cindy goes on to say here where he wants it, on the south side of Chicago in Jackson Park, adjacent to where he and Michelle lived and worked. Linda says the Michael Reese site, which has lakefront views and is much closer to the Loop. Let's see
That'll
here.
Be a good site.
Sue, how's it going, Sue? Sue says parking garage, way below the city.
Okay.
Another Obama fan.
Hey, weigh in, say what you want. That's fine. You can even curse now on the new Ben Joravsky show. We may read it. Yeah. Let's see here. And the live stream chat. Boy, a lot of people are weighing in here. I want to try and get as many as I can here. Kyle says the Obama Center, put it in the old post office building.
2 for 1.
Be accessed by public. And I'm getting a little confused here, so we're done.
All right. Mark Sims, do you have a favorite site for where you think the Obama Center should be?
I don't care where it is. It doesn't matter to me.
It doesn't affect you? That's sort of what Maya had to say, too.
Yeah.
It's not even on her top 10 list, 20 list, et cetera, and so forth. All right. Earlier in the show, we played this. Dennis played a clip. We were doing the national news, and it cracked me up. It's our president, Donald Trump, and it was just one of these impromptu press conferences he has, Mark Sims, where he addresses the media that surround him while he's getting ready to board an airplane. So you hear the engine in the background. Yes, exactly. So nobody can ask a question. It's a captive audience.
No collusion.
That's called radio.
Catch us at Second City this weekend. Me and Mark.
All right, so you're going to play it? I'd love to get Mark's response.
Yeah, there's quite a few here. So he talks about Mexico, he talks about Pelosi, and then I think he wraps it up with Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Mexico, we're getting along with them great. Marcelo and the president and all of it, we're getting along great. They've started a very strong action. They're moving right now 6,000 soldiers to their southern border. Who ever heard of that? Do you think we had that 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, I'll tell you what we had. We had nothing. Now, look, Nancy is a mess. The Democratic Party is a mess. They're doing everything they can to win the election in 2020. They are guilty of many crimes, many crimes, what they've done. They're guilty of many crimes. And hopefully, in a short period of time, that'll be seen. They should never have done what they've done. And all they do is waste time on these investigations where there's no obstruction, no collusion, no nothing. And in the meantime, they can't get a border deal done. They can't do anything. Joe Biden is a dummy. Joe Biden thought China was not a competitor. China made $500 billion over a short period of time against Obama, Biden, and for many years, in all fairness to them. China is a major competitor, and right now China wants to make a deal very badly. It's me right now that's holding up the deal.
Wow. All right. Joe Biden is a dummy. That's our president of the United States. All right, Adolfo, what do you think about that?
He's a babbling idiot, first of all. He's hilarious, though. I mean, he could go on the circuit and just do comedy bits all around. But I think one of the things you keep talking on this show is that Democrats play by an old set of rules and are too gentlemanly-like when it comes to standing up to the Republicans. I think that this is nothing new. It's been going on a while. In 2000, when the vote counting was going on in Florida, the Democrats came in and, let's settle this like gentlemen. And the Republicans came in and said, screw that. Fuck this. We're fighting for every single vote. And they hustled, outdid the Democrats. I think the Democrats need a bulldog like old school Carville, like James Carville used to. Someone who, if they're afraid of going directly at Trump and standing up to him and going tit for tat, then they need someone, a surrogate or a couple of surrogates, to be out there every night just pounding this idiot. Pounding him. No holds barred. Doesn't matter if people are like, oh, well, you went to work. Well, he does too. So, I mean, and you want to insulate yourself from that? Well, then, get a surrogate that's a couple arm lengths away and just pay those dudes to just pound every night. Go out, be a peanut gallery on every single news channel and just go out there and just, pound the shit out of Trump.
Yeah.
Because he's afraid, he's a bully. And when people stand up to him, he shuts the hell up.
He backs off. Mark, when you heard that, what's your thoughts?
When Trump was running for president, that was funny. And now when he won, it ain't funny no more. I got Trump fatigue. Somebody's gonna call his bluff. Maybe not Joe Biden, but maybe China or some other country, maybe Iran. You hope he can leave office without one of these countries who have nuclear weapons or can strangle this country economically. Well, call that man's bluff. I knew he's going to back off of Mexico. He talks strong, then he backs down. But somebody's going to call his bluff, and it's not going to be fun. So we're going into a recession. We're overdue for this damn recession, and this guy is not. It's not funny. And we have to stop playing games. We have to figure out, okay, who are these people in Wisconsin and Michigan and in Pennsylvania who stayed home? And we got to work. I don't care who Joe Biden's president. Give me a break. I mean, I'll vote. I'll hold my nose and vote for him. But the point is that you got to find the people. It's just a small margin. It could be like 5% of the electorate, and go find that 5% and get them to vote. Because this man's got to go.
No, that articulates exactly how I view it.
He's playing with fire. At some point, somebody's going to call his bluff.
Well, here's the thing. Truth has no... There's no... It's like there is no truth. So when you say he's babbling, I'm listening to him, Adolfo, talk about the trade agreement with, and I have trade agreement in quotes, with Mexico, and he's just going on and on, like 6,000 troops moved to the border. We don't know if there's been 6,000 troops moved to the southern border of Mexico.
And part of that, he's allowed to do that because the check on the system, the press never, one, he makes himself scarce so that the press doesn't have a lot of opportunities to question him, and then but when they do have a chance to question his bullshit, call him out on bullshit, they don't.
Well, actually, I'm going to defend the press. I think that, like, the New York Times and the Washington Post...
Not to his face, though, is what I mean. Like, when they have him, there and say, no, you're wrong. You're wrong, Mr. President. You're a fucking asshole and blah, blah, blah,
Do you think reporters should do that?
I think they should.
Oh, no, have some decorum.
He has none.
But somebody has to have decorum.
Yeah.
But even if you do it in a polite way, you still have to call him on his bullshit.
Yeah.
Right?
Listen...
to his face, not in an editorial, not in...
It's a lot harder to do than you think, to stand up to an all-powerful being. Like
Jim Acosta was kind of good at, standing up to him and stuff and calling him up on his BS. And I think that the other members of that White House press should have taken from his cue and stood up and said, not just supporting what he was doing, but saying I'm going to follow that up with this question.
Yeah. Mark Sims, you're not excited about Joe Biden?
Of course.
I didn't want to leave that one in.
You early in the show, you mentioned that. You said, I'm going to ask all the people, including me. I heard my name on the way in and got excited. And so, and Joe, Uncle Joe, come on.
Grandpa Joe.
Grandpa, there you go. Grandpa Joe. I mean, you be honest. You think he can last 2 terms? Honestly, even Bernie, can you think they can last 8 years as president? He looks fit. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
both their mothers lived to the 90s and something. So.
Sure, why not? Trump's ancient too.
Cheney's still alive, for God's sake.
Yeah, Cheney's still alive.
He got a new heart or something, didn't he?
Well, exactly. What do you think? They're not. If he becomes president, they're not going to put every electrode in him to keep him alive.
Honestly, the people who pay attention to stuff, Joe does. None of the candidates really excite anybody. No one's paying attention. I got rid of cable years ago, so I don't see that loop anymore, which I'm glad I got rid of. And so the bottom line is when they start these debates, because right now they just going for donors. That's all they doing right now. I heard Scott Pelley say this on C-SPAN. And so they going for donors.
I thought you didn't have the cable.
No. On the internet.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Oh, the phone. My bad. My bad. You got it.
This is the bomb, man.
Yeah.
And so the thing about it is that as I lost my train of thought here, is that most people are not paying attention, and when these real debates start to start, if you will, I want to see who's going to be number 2. Looks like Elizabeth Warren is I thought she was dead in the water. She's repositioning herself very well, and she has a good chance of being number 2. Because that's the whole thing. 1, 2, 3. Who's going to shake out 1, 2, 3? Buttigieg might, but the black woman in South Carolina may without the black vote, he ain't going nowhere. Bernie's Bernie, and see and so I love Bernie. I can vote for Bernie. I'm just saying, who's going to be that number 2, number 3 behind Joe Biden?
I write this man right here, Dolph, a huge Bernie supporter from back in 2016.
I still feel the burn.
You still feel the burn? Yeah. So Bernie is amazing. But I will say this about Elizabeth Warren, and I mentioned this earlier. When you have Donald Trump going around talking about Joe Biden as a dummy, making stuff up about Mexico, and then in contrast, Elizabeth Warren with these very nuanced, sophisticated, laid out, practical.
Let me ask you: isn't Bernie have
plans? I don't think
every single plan that Elizabeth Warren has? Isn't Elizabeth Warren just Bernie light?
I don't think so. I think that's not fair to Elizabeth Warren.
Where do you think they differ in terms of her platform? Where Bernie would say, "I don't go."
Well, I don't know about in terms of okay. I see your point. In other words, is there much of a ideological difference between them on issues? And the answer is no. The short answer is no. But what Elizabeth Warren has is laid out policies and plans, things that she's immediately calling for. For instance, breaking up Google, for instance. I read her platform on that. Right. And I'm not sure Bernie has the amount of specificity. But as the articles that talked about Elizabeth Warren, it gets to the heart of things. They say that yes, she has specifics, but by having specifics, it makes her a target for Republican operatives. So this country doesn't want specific. You get what I'm saying? The target, they can take what she says, distort it, use it as a club to pound her, and that will be a deterrent from any other candidate coming out with a specific plan.
Well, it's like Supreme Court justices when they go before the Senate and they're like, well, what do you think about this issue? Well, I really can't comment, and I'm nebulous about this, and I kind of feel this way, but I can't really say anything, and
No, Clarence Thomas. I remember in 1991, it was like abortion. Roe v. I don't know.
The number one thing you need to be president. First thing you need as you're running for president is likability. First thing you need likability. Period, because they're all in the weeds. Most people never get in the weeds.
Elizabeth Warren's affable. I think
that's what I'm saying. You need likability, because first you say Bernie, he too old. Joe, man. He too old. Elizabeth, ain't she Pocahontas? You got to think about these things. So it really comes down to likability, and that's the first thing you need. Then you go into the weeds for people like yourselves. Most people don't care about the issues.
Most people don't want to go in the weeds; they just want to smoke them. Anyway, Mark Sims, thank you. Adolfo Mondragon, thank you very much. Also want to thank Maya. She was in the show earlier. Leah did a great job as always, and of course, the man, the myth, the legend, the pride and joy of Alton, Illinois. Hey, Mark, you know what they call him down in Alton, Illinois these days?
Oh, tell me again.
White lightning. Yes, indeed. Good job, Dr. D. Give yourself a raise. Take it out of petty cash. See you tomorrow, everybody.
And remember, you can download previous Ben Joravsky shows at both Chicago Reader and Chicago Sun-Times websites, chicagoreader.com, chicago.suntimes.com/Joravsky, and wherever else you download your favorite podcast. If you're downloading, we live stream the program, right? Yeah, we do. Tuesdays through Fridays, 1 until 3 p.m. Central Time. Once again, at both sites, chicagoreader.com, chicago.suntimes.com. Big thank you to everyone who weighed in on the Ben Joravsky Show Facebook page. Hilarious and very informative places to put the Obama Center. We'll be back tomorrow. Find us online at Benny J Show.